This is Chesterton Radio, your home for podcasts of works by G.K. Chesterton, plus drama, comedy, mystery, science fiction, big bands, and much more. The soundtrack to your Chesterton day at chestertonradio.com.
The Anger of Achilles. The BBC presents an epic for radio in 3 parts by Robert Graves. The Anger of Achilles, Part 1.
2,600 years ago, in a royal courtyard in Greece, an audience relaxing with wine cups at their elbows sat waiting for one of Homer's storytelling sons.
Keep back, slaves! Back, children! Make way for the honored bard, servant of the god Apollo. Let him enter the king's presence unmolested.
Welcome, Phemius, son of glorious Homer. Welcome to my city. You have made a pleasant voyage from sacred Delos.
With the god Apollo's own blessing, my lord, and that of Poseidon, ruler of the sea.
Phemius, we are assembled here in this courtyard in joyful hope of entertainment. It is now many months since one of your illustrious guild of storytellers has so favored us. Come, fill these agate cups to the brim. Your health, son of blind Homer, whom the muse gifted with inward sight.
And Apollo's blessing on this hospitable city.
Oh, look at his lyre! It's made from a turtle shell.
Hush, daughter! Pray silence, lords, ladies, freemen, children, slaves. Honor Apollo and his servant the bard Phemius.
Now tell me, Phemius, what shall our tale be tonight?
By your royal leave, I shall sing The Anger of Achilles.
The Anger of Achilles.
This is the story of the long Greek war against Troy, fought 600 years ago, when Prince Paris of Troy, prompted by the love goddess Aphrodite, had stolen Menelaus' wife, Queen Helen of Sparta, and Priam, king of Troy, had refused to send her back. This is a story of the 10th year of that siege, and tells how the young Prince Achilles, who has brought his myrmidons to fight with the Greeks against the Trojans, now at last quarrels with the high king Agamemnon of Mycenae, the Greek commander-in-chief.
What? Quarrel with his own liege lord?
By your leave, Achilles was King Agamemnon's ally, not his vassal. And even the Olympian gods were involved in that fearful quarrel, as you shall hear, for I will now explain all, with the muse's help. Sing, mountain goddess, sing through me, that anger which most ruinously inflamed Achilles, Peleus' son, and which before the tale was done had glutted hell with champions, bold, stern spirits by the thousandfold, ravens and dogs their corpses ate. For thus did Zeus, who watched their fate, see his result, first taken when proud Agamemnon, king of men, an insult on Achilles cast, come to accomplishment at last. If you want to know which of the gods kindled this quarrel and how he did so, I can tell you. It was Phoebus Apollo, when he sent a fearful pestilence among the Greeks by way of punishing King Agamemnon. The trouble began with Agamemnon's scorn of Apollo's priest Chryses, who came to the Greek camp before Troy, armed with the god's sacred woolen headband bound on a golden wand. Apollo's priest was offering a high ransom for his daughter, Chryseis, whom the Greeks held as a prisoner of war. Chryses addressed the entire army, but particularly the High King Agamemnon and his brother, King Menelaus of Sparta, on whose account, you remember, the war was being fought.
Royal sons of Atreus, Agamemnon and Menelaus, and you other distinguished warriors, it is my sincere hope that the blessed gods will permit you to sack King Priam's citadel yonder in Troy, and to sail safe home. But only if you honor Zeus's son Apollo, the god whom I serve, by setting my daughter Chryseis free.
Let the girl go home untouched, in her father's company.
No! I, your High King Agamemnon, say no! Let me catch you here again, old man, among these ships of war, either now or later, and neither that wand nor your priestly headband will protect you. Understand me once and for all. I will never release your daughter Chryseis.
My lord.
She must spend the rest of her life as my royal concubine. First here, and then at distant Mycenae. Begone, and not another word!
The venerable Chryses, scared into obedience, walked silently away beside the rough sea until he found himself alone. Then, weeping, he offered this prayer to Apollo.
God with the bow of silver, you that take your stand at Chrysae and holy Scylla, protector of our land, great lord of mice, whose scepter holds Tenedos in fee, listen to my petition, consider well my plea. If ever I built a temple agreeable to your eyes, or cut from goats or bullocks the fat about their thighs, to burn as a costly offering at King Apollo's shrine, let the Greeks pay with your arrows these burning tears of mine.
Apollo heard Chryses' prayer, and his face grew darker than night. Shouldering the silver bow, he hurried down from Mount Olympus where the blessed gods live. His arrows of pestilence rattled in their quiver as he alighted at some distance from the ships, and his silver bow clanged dreadfully when he let fly. Apollo's first victims were mules and hounds. Next, he shot their masters, whose pyres were presently seen burning from end to end of the camp. For 9 days these unseen arrows riddled the Greeks, and on the 10th, Prince Achilles, inspired by the goddess Hera, who hated Troy and felt compassion for its dying besiegers, summoned a general assembly, as was his right.
My greetings to you, dear brother Menelaus.
Brother.
And to you, my staunch ally, great Idomeneus of Crete.
Agamemnon.
And to you, wise and venerable Nestor of Pylos.
Great king.
And to you, bold Diomedes. And to you, resourceful Odysseus of Ithaca. And to you also, Achilles, leader of the Myrmidons.
Greetings, High King.
And lastly to you, Calchas, who claim inspiration from your master Phoebus Apollo.
Greetings, my lord.
Tell Tibius, my herald, will hand his white gold-studded staff to whichever lord has a mind to give us counsel. Let no man speak without it.
Who summoned this assembly? It was I, Achilles, prince of Thea, son of King Peleus and the sea goddess Thetis.
Take the wand.
King Agamemnon, son of Atreus, of one thing I am certain. We are fated to be driven from our camp by this combination of pestilence with war, unless we at once consult some prophet or priest, or even an interpreter of dreams. Dreams, too, are sent by Zeus. We must find out the reason for Apollo's anger. Have we perhaps failed to keep a vow, or to offer him a worthy sacrifice? If so, the odor of prime lambs and goats roasting on his altars should soon placate our Lord Apollo, and thus end the pestilence.
Who speaks next? The staff, herald. I am Calchas the prophet, son of Hector, servant of Phoebus Apollo himself.
The staff is yours.
Prince Achilles, favourite of Zeus, you invite me to account for the anger of Apollo, the god who kills from afar.
I do.
But since my divine message may displease our commander-in-chief, King Agamemnon, I shall withhold it unless you solemnly swear to protect me afterwards, both in word and deed. Take the staff and answer me, Achilles, my lord.
Calchas, do not shrink from revealing the truth. I swear by Zeus' son Apollo that while I yet live and breathe, no one here will dare lay violent hands on you.
Not even the High King Agamemnon himself.
Then I will speak freely. The cause of Apollo's anger is neither the breach of a vow nor the omission of a worthy sacrifice, but the insult offered his priest Chryses by the High King in declining a ransom for Chryseis. Apollo has avenged this insult on us all, and our punishment is not yet complete. He will rid the camp of pestilence only when we restore Chryseis to her father without demanding ransom from him, and when we burn 100 sacrificial victims at Apollo's shrine on the island of Chryse. This way lies our sole hope of...
Evil-minded prophet, how you love disaster.
My lord...
You never foretell anything pleasant. Yours is the most improbable story I have ever heard. So, Apollo has punished us Greeks because I prefer to keep Chryseis as my bedfellow rather than accept a ransom. Let me be blunt. I find her far more attractive than my wife Clytemnestra, alike in face, figure, intelligence, and skill. Nevertheless, since you are Apollo's servant, I am ready to send the girl home, if needs must, rather than watch my entire army melt away. I stipulate only that you princes will at once recompense me for her loss.
What? It would indeed be disgraceful were I to find myself the sole Greek without a prize of honor. And you can all see how valuable a one I stand to lose.
King Agamemnon, you are the greediest man alive.
What, Achilles?
Why should we princes recompense you for causing this pestilence? Besides, we have no common stock of booty upon which to draw. What we took from captured cities has already been divided, and it would be indecent to withdraw a particular award from any one of us and make it over to you. Send back the girl as Apollo demands. And later, if Zeus lets us sack some other Trojan fortress, we will, perhaps, vote you an even more valuable prize, as, for example...
Do not argue with me, Achilles. I refuse to be bullied. So I must surrender Chryseis and expect no compensation, is that it? You, I suppose, are to keep your prize of honor and leave me chafing empty-handed. No, indeed. If this generous counsel offers me some fair substitute, well and good. If not, I will choose my own prize of honor, seizing it with my own hands, either from you, great Ajax, or from you, Achilles. However, this can be settled later. Meanwhile, let us pick a crew for one of our galleys, put aboard 100 sacrificial victims and my prisoner Chryseis, then appoint someone as captain, someone like yourself, Prince Achilles, who will sail down to Chryse, there placate Apollo the archer,
You
and so...
shameless schemer! How can any Greek humbly obey your orders, whether to go on this voyage or stay and fight? I did not join the expedition because the Trojans harmed me. They never took my cattle or horses nor foraged through my cornfields in fertile Phthia. Ranges of misty mountains and vast stretches of echoing sea separate my land from this. Though no vassal of yours, I brought my men here as a favor because you asked me to punish the Trojans for the wrong they did your brother Menelaus. And now, dog-faced wretch,
Achilles,
you not only forget how much gratitude I deserve, but threaten to steal the prize with which the Greeks rewarded me. And at what division of booty after the sack of a large city did I ever get a share even approaching yours in value? Though I led the assault in person and returned exhausted to my ship.
Adequate.
Very well! Since I have no intention of further humiliating myself by this thankless struggle to fill your coffers, I shall sail home to my country of Phthia.
Desert us by all means, Achilles, if that is your pleasure. I shall not stop you. Others will stay who hold me in respect. And of all my counselors, you are the one who I most detest. You, Achilles, with your endless pursuit of quarrels and battles. Go and welcome. Launch your ships. Play the petty king among the myrmidons of Phthia.
Do not tempt me to
be as angry as you please. It means nothing to me, but let me warn you here and now that since Apollo insists on robbing me of Chryseis, my own ship and crew shall carry her back to her father.
and I shall visit your hut and recoup my loss with your prize of honor, the beautiful Briseis of Lyrnessus. That'll teach you and your rebellious comrades not to dispute with me on equal terms.
Briseis, Agamemnon, you shall die for that.
As Prince Achilles drew the sword from its scabbard, the white-armed goddess Hera, who hated Troy and was intent on keeping the Greek leaders united, hurriedly sent her stepdaughter, owl-eyed Athene, to stand behind Achilles and catch him by his yellow hair.
Why are you here, Pallas Athene, standing behind me? Do I alone see your fierce eyes? Have you come to witness King Agamemnon's insolence? Then let me tell you that it has already cost him his life.
Take your hand from that sword-hilt, Achilles, and listen to me. I come as a messenger from my stepmother, the white-armed goddess Hera, who loves both you and Agamemnon. You are to warn him sternly what punishment he must expect, but to abstain from violence. For I promise that one day soon your outraged pride shall be solaced with a prize enormously more valuable than this pretty slave. Come, Achilles, prove that you trust us by showing decent restraint.
Daughter of Zeus, I am indeed enraged. But the gods bless obedience and shall have mine.
I have not yet done, Agamemnon. Drunkard with the face of a dog and the heart of a dog.
Take care, Achilles.
Why do you never arm for a pitched battle at the head of your men? Or join in setting an ambush, as other Greek leaders do? You would rather die than risk a wound. Yet you speak of stealing a prize of honor from a brave man who challenges your pretensions. Such tyranny has left your people spiritless, else you would never dare insult so many of them. But I at least will say my say, and confirm it with a solemn oath, which I take here and now upon this white gold-studded staff, which assures me the right of uninterrupted speech. By this dry wand no more to sprout or put green twigs and foliage out, since once the hatchet swinging free cross-chopped it from a mountain tree, then trimmed away both leaves and bark. By this same wand, which men who mark ancient traditions, praised by Zeus, have set to honorable use in ruling their debates, I vow that all you Greeks assembled now before me, mark these words, one day shall miss Achilles in the fray, and long for him, finding your chief incapable, despite all grief, to save from Trojans' murdering sword an army. Then, Agamemnon, Lord, your anger inward you shall turn, cursing the folly that dared spurn him who indignantly here speaks, the best and bravest of all Greeks. In token of which oath, I dash this wand to the ground. There, let it lie.
Alcibius, noble herald, hand me now the staff, for I would speak.
The staff is yours, honored Nestor, the High King's chief counselor.
Alas, our whole expedition is gravely threatened by this sorry dispute. How King Priam of Troy and his sons and all Troy would rejoice to hear of a breach between the two champions who always take the lead in planning and fighting. Pray listen to me, both of you, Agamemnon and Achilles, because your combined ages are far from adding up to mine. And because, when long ago I addressed men even nobler than yourselves, they never disregarded my advice. And I advise you, princes, to do the same. My lord Agamemnon, despite the grandeur of your rank, I charge you keep your hands off the girl whom the Greeks awarded Achilles as his prize of honor.
What?
And my lord Achilles, I charge you, respect the scepter-bearing High King, Zeus's representative on earth.
That weakling!
You are very strong, I know. And your mother is Thetis, the silver-footed sea goddess. But Agamemnon ranks even higher than you. Lastly, my lord king, I beg you as a favor, let your anger cool. We all know that young Prince Achilles is the boldest fighter here, and all the army sees in him the surest bulwark against the hazards of this war.
Now, what you say is true enough, Venerable Nestor, but Achilles wants to be treated as though he were Commander-in-Chief, High King, and President of the Council. An ambition which I think few of this assembly will support. I grant that the gods have made him a sturdy fighter. Have they also sanctioned him to revile me in such impudent words? Yes! That is exactly what they have done. If I remain silent, everyone here would call me a coward and accuse me of always yielding to your demands. Trample on whom you please, Agamemnon, but not on Achilles, son of Peleus. For my service is at an end. And though I will use no violence against you or your servants in the matter of Briseis, the prize of honor awarded me and now annulled, yet try touching any other possession of mine, and your royal blood will stain my spear. I swear this herald, this assembly is now closed. Prince Achilles has rudely interrupted my speech.
In the name of my master, the god Hermes, pray silence! I declare this assembly closed.
When Achilles, accompanied by his best friend Patroclus, from whom he was never willingly parted even for a day, had walked off towards the line of huts beside his ships, then Agamemnon ordered a fast galley to be launched, and sent the girl Chryseis home to her father under the charge of King Odysseus, his choice of captain. And then it was that Agamemnon remembered his threats.
Tell Thebius, noble herald, you and your colleague go to Achilles' hut and fetch me the lovely Briseis of Lyrnessus. If he offers resistance, I shall go myself and take her by force, which will injure his pride even more.
The two heralds went off most reluctantly along the beach until they came to the Myrmidons' ships. There they saw Achilles brooding on a bench, seated beside his comrade Patroclus. At first he gave them no sign, so they kept silence, afraid to utter a word.
I guess your errand. Welcome, heralds. Since your task is to convey messages from Zeus and from his royal representative here on earth, pray step forward and be assured that I blame only the High King, who has ordered you to steal my prisoner Briseis. Patroclus, fetch the girl from the hut, and let these heralds lead her away. And when the day comes, as come it must, that I am implored to save Agamemnon's army from shameful defeat, I shall call you both to witness before immortals and mortals alike, but especially before that ignoble High King, your master. What patience I have displayed. And if Agamemnon thinks his army can guard this fleet against a Trojan attack, he must be mad as well as evil not to consider the past and foresee the future.
So Patroclus fetched the slim-waisted Briseis, and the heralds led her away to Agamemnon's hut, though she was loath enough to go. Presently Achilles walked far along the seashore, with grief at his heart, and sank down on the sand, gazing in tears westward across the endless waves.
Oh, goddess mother, Thetis the silver-footed. Mother, the lifetime of this man is destined to so brief a span that Zeus, who thunders from the skies, owes me at least a worthier prize of glory than is mine today. See, Agamemnon wrests away the captive girl with whom my sword was honored by the Greeks' award. to work his evil will upon her. Indeed, Zeus holds me in small honor. And therefore, Goddess Mother, to you I pray.
I rise from the sullen waves, Achilles, my son. Tell me what ails you, child. Instead of hiding your sorrow, share it with me.
No. Why should I tell you what you know already? But, Mother, as you love me, go to Olympus and plead my case, reminding Zeus of any word or deed of yours that ever pleased him.
Yes, I will visit many-ridged Olympus, and there on the topmost peak will kneel before Zeus the Thunderer, clasping his knees with my left hand, and placing my right caressingly beneath his chin. Great Father Zeus, if ever Thetis assisted you by word or deed, alone among the immortal gods in ministration to your need, fulfill, I beg you, my petition. Honor Achilles, my dear son, for doomed by fate to end his life before its prime has well begun. Now Agamemnon, king of men, has roughly robbed him of his prize, lovely Briseis, by this act dishonoring us in all Greek eyes. If Zeus, wise ruler of Olympus, rebuking such injustice, lends timely support to Trojan arms, my son may hope for full amends. Father Zeus, you keep silence. I beg you either to give me a sure promise confirmed with your divine nod, or else dismiss my petition. Why shrink from offending me? I know well that I am the least esteemed of all immortals.
This is a serious matter, dear Thetis, and bound to cause trouble between Queen Hera and myself. For she has often accused me of partiality to the Trojans.
Oh, Zeus!
Nevertheless, I feel constrained to grant your plea. Come, take heart, daughter, and observe my divine nod. The surest possible sign, as everyone knows, that this is my true, certain, and irrevocable promise.
So Zeus nodded his dark, immortal brow, shaking his scented locks, and the whole mountain quaked as he did so. Thetis dived straight into the sea, and almighty Zeus returned to his golden palace, where the gods were all seated together, though not in peace. For some of them favored the Trojan side and some the Greeks. And as he entered the hall, the throned Olympians rose in courteous welcome.
Welcome home, welcome home.
I thank you all. But my Queen Hera seems somewhat out of sorts. What ails you now, wife?
Tell me, shifty husband, with which god or goddess have you been plotting? Am I always to be excluded from these secret conferences? Were you ever kind enough to inform me of your plans before setting them in motion?
You must not hope to be forewarned of all my decisions here. They are sometimes too complex even for you to grasp.
Husband.
Whenever I choose to disclose any particular plan, no immortal or mortal will hear of it sooner than yourself. So if I go apart to meditate, you must not badger me with questions afterwards.
Oh, revered son of Cronus, what is this? You know that I never badger you, but always leave you to reach your decisions in complete solitude. Today, however, I'm afraid that charming little Thetis, the silver-footed...
What of her?
Why, we saw her crouched, clasping your knees on the mountain top at dawn. Has she not persuaded you to retrieve Achilles' honor? Did she not beg you to let the Greeks suffer a severe defeat in their naval camp? And did you not humour her with your divine nod?
Oh, wife, you never cease imagining things. At all events, your eternal meddlesomeness, from which I have no means of escape, cannot alter my plans. In fact, the more you meddle, the less I trust you. I always do exactly as I please, so hold your tongue and learn to obey. For if once I lay my omnipotent hands on your divine frame, no god in Olympus will dare to intervene.
Oh, I detest my husband from the bottom of my heart. If only I could make him change his mind.
Where is my brother, the smith god? Ah, Hephaestus.
What is it, Ares, god of war?
Pray soothe our mother by any means in your power.
Listen to me, dear mother.
What is it, Hephaestus?
It would be disastrous if you and our father started wrangling about mortal affairs and drew us into the quarrel. Domestic troubles ruin our delightful banquets. My advice, though a goddess as learned as yourself needs no advice, is leave Father Zeus alone. Otherwise he's quite capable of knocking us off our thrones with his thunderbolts. Then where should we be?
No, Hephaestus.
Come, look pleasant for our sakes and restore his good humour.
No.
Now accept this cup of sweet nectar. There. Mother, be brave and patient however badly he treats you. I could not bear to watch him manhandle the mother whom I love so dearly and without the least hope of saving her. It would be madness to forget my last attempt at intervention when Zeus caught me by the foot and hurled me out of that window. All day I flew through the air, landing on Lemnos only at sunset. The crash half killed me, but fortunately the kind islanders came to my rescue.
And, brother, you have limped like a rotting partridge ever since. Come, the nectar. Fill the cups to overflowing, for I am god of war, and I smell slaughter.
Wife, smile tenderly on me again. Tonight, let us mount our golden couch together.
If that is my lord's will.
It is.
So night fell, and the Olympians slept. And Zeus himself mounted the couch which he chooses when he desires the god of sleep to visit him. There he rested, and Hera rested at his side.
Morpheus, god of sleep, come closer. I have an urgent message for you.
At your orders, Earthshaker.
Send me a dream.
What sort of a dream, Earthshaker?
A small, cunning, false one.
I happen to have one here with me. A dear little deceiver.
False dream? Are you there?
Yes, almighty Zeus.
Fly down to the Greek ships. Seek out King Agamemnon. You'll find him in the big painted hut. And give him this message in my exact words. Hush, I will whisper it to you lest my jealous queen snoring here beside me should overhear. Rouse your splendid army and march without delay in mass against the Trojans. Great Troy is yours today.
I obey.
But first, false dream, you must disguise yourself as Nestor, king of Pylos, whose counsel Agamemnon values more than any man's.
I obey. What? Are you asleep, Agamemnon?
A commander-in-chief with so many preoccupations.
Patience has no right to snore the whole night through. Here is an urgent message from Father Zeus himself. Rouse your splendid army and march without delay in mass against the Trojans. Great Troy is yours.
Today.
Nestor of Pylos, are you still there?
You've been dreaming, my lord.
Huh? Then I must rise at once, for this is our day of victory.
What, my lord?
Bring me my softest, most beautiful tunic, a capacious cloak, elegant sandals for my feet, the baldric and my silver-studded sword, and my imperishable sceptre. Talthybius! Where is my noble herald Talthybius?
At your orders, High King.
First, convene an immediate privy council beside King Nestor's ship, and then when the privy council is met, summon the entire army to the assembly ground.
It shall be done, my lord. Members of the Privy Council, the High King summons you to meet at once beside King Nestor's ship. Members of the Privy Council,
Welcome, my valued councillors. Pray give me your attention. I was sleeping pleasantly last night when someone resembling you, my Lord Nestor, in height and appearance, invaded my dreams. He stood near me. I heard him say, Agamemnon, victorious king, here is an urgent message from Zeus himself. Rouse your splendid army and march without delay in mass against the Trojans. Great Troy is yours today. So saying, the man in my dreams vanished. With your leave, therefore, I am sounding a general call to arms. Already you can hear the army being summoned to our assembly ground. But first, what do you think of my dream, King Nestor?
My lord, princes and councillors, had any other man told us of this vision, we might well have rejected it as false. Since, however, Agamemnon has every claim to be considered the greatest among us, we should, I believe, accept the message as authentic and approve his general call to arms.
Who else wishes to speak? I take your silence for approval. Come to the assembly. But first, attend to me. First, I deem it prudent to test the army's courage. When, therefore, I rise to suggest that we break off the siege and sail home, you, princes, must shout protests from all sides and insist on a vigorous offensive. Is that clear?
Yes.
Quite clear? Quite clear. Then forward to the assembly ground.
All the councillors followed Nestor out like sheep, and the men-at-arms came surging around them like flights of bees, 1,000 strong from their caverned precipice. Over flowery meadows throng, some on that side, some on this, and like bees the Greek contingent streamed from their ships and huts, soon setting the assembly ground in such an uproar as they sat down on benches that the 9 heralds present had great trouble in persuading the more riotous to let the kings make themselves heard. The High King Agamemnon stood up and displayed his imperishable scepter.
Silence! Silence, you Greeks! The High King will address you! Let no man interrupt him!
Comrades, soldiers of Greece, devotees of the war god Ares, hard-hearted Zeus promised me once, in my innocence, even pledging me his famous nod, that I should not return to Mycenae before sacking yonder great city of Troy. This was a cruel deception, it now appears. He intended us to sail home in disgrace after suffering severe losses. Or that, at any rate, is my present view. It will be a tale to shame our posterity. How such powerful Greek forces fought so long and so useless a war against far weaker opponents. Let me enlarge on this point. Suppose a solemn armistice were concluded by the 2 armies. Suppose that the Trojans invited us to enter their gates. And suppose, further, that we Greeks divided into companies of 10, each company engaging 1 Trojan householder to pour wine for them. Why, even then, I can assure you, there would not be nearly enough wine pourers to go round. Such is the proportion between the Trojans' strength and ours. But the Trojans have allies in plenty, and it is these who prevent us from sacking Troy. 9 long years have passed. Our ship's timbers are rotten, and the tackle has perished. And though wives and children at home still await our return, we seem no nearer to success than we were at the start. Let us therefore do as I suggest. Now, in the 10th year, let us sail back to our beloved Greece, in despair of ever forcing a way into the wide streets of Troy.
No! Let us protest as we were ordered.
After 9 long years! A blessing on King Agamemnon for his mercy. Glory to all the gods!
The confused noise rose to heaven, where white-armed Hera heard it. She turned in alarm to the goddess Athene, with whom she had planned the destruction of Troy. Remember that neither of these goddesses, Hera nor Athene, could ever forgive Prince Paris of Troy for awarding the prize of beauty to Aphrodite, goddess of love, when the three of them competed long years since on Mount Ida.
Athene, daughter of Zeus, what are these cries I hear? Are Agamemnon's men really about to sail home across the horizon? And will King Priam and his Trojans make good their boast of keeping Queen Helen of Sparta?
Helen, whom Aphrodite gave to Prince Paris of Troy in return for denying us the prize of beauty.
Helen, the woman for whose sake so many of these Greeks have died far from their native land.
Helen, the faithless.
It is unthinkable, Athene.
Yes, noble Hera, wife of Zeus, this is a perilous moment. I will descend to earth and prevent the Greeks from launching their ships. King Odysseus of Ithaca, why do you stand here lost in grief while your men are launching their ships? Take command and prevent their departure.
Goddess Athene, I obey.
Lend a hand with this galley. Clear her launching track. Grease these rollers. Now knock away the props, and into the water she goes. Heave! 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 Heave!
My lord! Who commands this ship?
I do, King Odysseus.
My lord, it ill becomes you to catch a panic. Sit down, keep calm. Force your crew to do the same. You have foolishly missed the drift of Agamemnon's speech. He was just testing the army's courage, so beware of being charged with rebellion.
Forgive me, King Odysseus. Hey, men! Belay there! Orders countermanded. We stay.
What right have you to push us fellows around? We want to go home. Troy will never fall.
Who are you?
I am Thersites, a Thessalian. I'm not under your command, Ithacan.
Sit down, Thersites, and await orders.
Huh?
You count for nothing, either as a soldier or a thinker. All Greeks cannot be kings. It is a bad army in which each man claims freedom of action. We need a united command. Father Zeus, in his inscrutable wisdom, conferred a scepter on Agamemnon, the High King, and with it the right to exact obedience from us all.
And a mighty poor choice Father Zeus made.
Be silent! Get back to the assembly ground! So it was that the men were hurried back to the assembly ground, and they raised as much noise as when a western wave rolls growling up the reach and thunderously breaks on the long beach. There they took their places again, and everyone sat quiet, except for this same Thersites, who had no control over his tongue and poured forth an endless stream of abuse against his superiors, saying whatever might raise a laugh. Thersites was by far the ugliest man in the Greek army, bandy-legged, lame, hump-backed, crook-necked, and almost bald.
King Agamemnon, we've surely by now filled your huts with enough bronze vessels and slave girls to satisfy your greed. When a city is sacked, you always get yourself voted the pick of the loot. I dare say you hope to do even better soon by squeezing the father of some Trojan prisoner whom I or my comrades may take for a gold ransom. Or shall we capture yet another pretty little concubine to warm your bed? No commander-in-chief has the right to treat his men so meanly. Fools! Rascals! Women! Not men! You should be ashamed of your softness. Go home as you intended.
Hold your tongue, Thersites, irresponsible windbag. Have I not already warned you once? Nobody here is attacking royal prerogatives, and as the meanest rogue in the whole army, you had better keep awards of honor out of your nasty talk and show less eagerness to raise the siege. The situation may be obscure. Who can tell yet whether we ought to end this campaign or continue it? But I will not allow you to taunt the High King with accepting what we voted him.
any more nonsense, and I shall strip off your cloak and your tunic and drive you down to the ships, beating your naked buttocks as you run. My head be taken from my shoulders if I fail to make good this threat. And here's how I shall start.
Spare me, King Odysseus! Spare me!
Odysseus may be a clever tactician, but his silencing of that chatterbox is by far the best service he's yet done us.
Indeed.
Depend on it, the Thyses will never again presume to slander a divine king.
My lord.
I am greatly indebted to you.
It seems that some of these troops have tried to break the oath which we all took on leaving Greece. It was to obey your orders loyally until we had sacked Troy. Now they whimper like orphaned children or their widowed mothers and complain of homesickness. True, this siege is grim enough to sap any man's resolution. When a storm-bound sailor has to stay away from his wife for as little as a month, he grows impatient. And we are already in the 10th year of war. Take courage, comrades. Have patience yet a while. We shall soon see whether Calchas was a true prophet. Doubtless you remember that famous scene as though it were yesterday. Our fleet had gathered at Aulis, laden with trouble for King Priam and his Trojans, and we kings stood beside a spring, offering sacrifices on the altars of the immortals. Suddenly we saw a remarkable portent. A snake with blood-red markings appeared from under the altar and darted towards a nearby plane tree, on the very top branch of which a sparrow had built her nest. Up the trunk glided that ruthless snake and swallowed each of the nestlings in turn, while the distressed mother fluttered overhead, cheeping indignantly. Then the snake seized the hen sparrow by the wing and swallowed her also. As we stared in amazement at this interruption of our solemn sacrifice, Calchas prophesied. What were the words of Calchas?
Why stand you silent, noble Greeks, when Zeus the omniscient, this late sign, this great sign, this famous sign has sent? A snake devours a sparrow whole, likewise her nestlings ate. So shall war swallow 9 whole years, and victory come late. Not till the 10th year shall proud Troy fall from her high estate.
You have heard! Calchas' prophecy is now nearing fulfillment, and I beg you, noble warriors, to battle manfully here, until in this 10th year we have sacked Troy! What a disorganized assembly! That's what I, old Nestor, say. You behave like a crowd of foolish boys without any interest in warfare proper. So far, you have done no more than talk, argue, and waste the entire forenoon in trying to shape a common policy, as though the High King would swerve from his avowed purpose, which is to shepherd us through the hazards of battle. No one should think of going home until he has avenged Paris the Trojans' theft of Queen Helen by himself enjoying the wife of some Trojan enemy. Whoever feels an irresistible desire for home can try launching his ship and be the first to die.
As usual, you have made the best speech of the session, venerable Nestor. If only the gods would provide 10 counselors as shrewd as yourself. But Zeus has surrounded me with so much fruitless wrangling and quarrelling that my mind is never at ease. Although Achilles provoked that violent dispute about his captive, I confess to having lost my temper before he did. Now, men, off to your dinners, and afterwards we shall take up our battle stations. I want all spears sharpened, all shields tested, all horses fed, and all chariots thoroughly gone over in readiness for the day of hard fighting. And if I catch any soldiers skulking among the ships, why, dogs and carrion birds shall have his corpse.
The Greek troops dispersed hurriedly to their lines, kindled fires on the hearths, cooked and ate their dinners. But each first sacrificed to one of the Olympians and implored protection from the coming slaughter. Agamemnon's own victim was a fat 5-year-old bull, and he summoned 6 counselors to assist at the sacrifice, namely Nestor of Pylos, Idomeneus of Crete, great Ajax and little Ajax, Diomedes of Argos, and Odysseus of Ithaca. Menelaus came uninvited, guessing how distracted his brother must have been to forget him. These 7 princes, then, stood round the victim while Agamemnon prayed to Zeus.
O Zeus, greatest of gods in heaven abiding, with unabated power the storm cloud riding, let not this sun go down nor darkness flout me, till I and these 7 kings here grouped about me have fired the many-doored dwelling of Priam, that not one wall may stand so tall as I am, till swords have rent the bright tunic of Hector and ringed him round with dead, Troy's doomed protector.
Almighty Zeus, though accepting Agamemnon's sacrifice, did not grant his plea, but rather made matters worse for him. Dinner over, the twinkling of bronze arms and armor could be seen at a great distance, as when a mountain forest burns, the glow visible miles away to men below. And the Greek soldiers, pouring from their ships and huts into the Scamandrian plain, recalled a flock of migrating birds. Migrating birds of many kinds that all together swoop upon Asian meadowlands, where winds the castor, crane and goose and swan. No single field contents their eye, but with one huge discordant voice hither and thither on they fly, and in their splendid plumes rejoice. The plain echoed the tread of beasts and men as the Greeks gathered upon it, eager to pull their enemy to pieces. How numerous they were, too. Like leaves and blossoms bursting out from every lusty tree, like flies of spring that buzz about the farmyard busily, when milk pours foaming into pails. To number them no count avails. Their leaders controlled them with the easy authority of goatherds, each minding his own flock on a common pasture. In the center rode King Agamemnon, with a frown worthy of Zeus, a waist worthy of Ares the war god, a breast worthy of Poseidon, god of the sea. He reminded everyone of a bull standing nobly prepared to defend his herd. So heroic and grand, by the grace of heaven, was his appearance. But when Agamemnon sounded the advance, there were no Myrmidons at his command, because Achilles, their leader, was sulking down at the camp, brooding miserably over the abduction of slim-waisted Briseis. And while anger against Agamemnon thus kept Achilles idling in his hut, his Myrmidons, yearning for war cries and the clash of arms, amused themselves along the shore at quoits, javelin throwing, and archery, or wandered through the empty camp, heartily wishing that someone would lead them to war. The Myrmidons' horses stood idle too, munching clover and marsh parsley, and their chariots were all stowed away. My Lord King, I am weary. Another night I will sing more sweetly. Go to bed, dear Muse, take your rest, and good night to you all.
That was part one of The Anger of Achilles, an epic for radio by Robert Graves, from his translation of Homer's Iliad. Agamemnon was played by Maurice Denham, Achilles by Robert Hardy, Odysseus by John Slater, Nestor by Norman Shelley, and Zeus by Francis de Wolfe. Phemius, son of Homer, a bard, was spoken and sung by Dennis Quilly. The music was specially composed by Roberto Gerard, and production for the BBC was by Raymond Rakes.
This is ChestertonRadio.com.
The Anger of Achilles. The BBC presents an epic for radio in 3 parts by Robert Graves. The Anger of Achilles, Part 2.
2,600 years ago, in a royal courtyard in Greece, an audience relaxing with wine cups at their elbows sat waiting for one of Homer's storytelling sons.
Keep back, slaves! Back, children! Make way again for the honored bard, servant of the god Apollo. Let him enter the king's presence unmolested.
Welcome again, Phemius, son of glorious Homer. We are here assembled, as you see, in joyful hope of further entertainment. But first, noble son of Homer, is your wine cup filled?
To the brim, I thank you, shepherd of your people.
Sing, Iliad, sing! Sing the anger of Achilles!
Pray silence, lords, ladies, freemen, children, slaves. Honor Apollo and his noble servant, the bard Phemius, as he sings to the god's turtle-shell lyre.
Again I tell, my lord king, a tale from the 10th year of the long Trojan War, when 600 years ago, Prince Paris of Troy, aided by the love goddess Aphrodite, stole Menelaus' wife, Queen Helen of Sparta, and Priam, king of Troy, refused to send her back. I tell again of young Prince Achilles, who had brought his Myrmidons to fight the Trojans, and now at last had quarreled with the high king Agamemnon of Mycenae, the Greek commander-in-chief. I sang before of the anger of Achilles and told how it was aroused. Tonight I tell of its cruel implacability. There was a rush to arms in Troy, and soon the Trojan infantry and chariotry poured out through the gates, yelling their war cries, and on to the Scamandrian plain. Great clouds of dust arose from the plain as the Trojan forces advanced at the double against the silent, well-disciplined Greeks. Before battle could be joined, however, Prince Paris of Troy darted between the two armies. He wore a panther skin mantle and carried a bow, a sword, and 2 bronze-headed spears.
I, Paris, son of Priam, beloved of the goddess Aphrodite, who brought Queen Helen to my bed, I, Paris, challenge any nobleman of Greece to meet me now in single combat.
Your challenge is accepted, evil Paris. Here come I, Menelaus, king of Sparta. You stole Helen from me, my queen. May Father Zeus grant that I strike you dead. What is this? Can it be that you think better of your challenge, coward? Do you run for shelter behind your comrade's shield?
Paris, you are needed, Paris! It is your brother Hector, the commander-in-chief, who summons you!
Here I am, Hector!
You handsome, deceitful woman, mad good for nothing. I wish you had never been born or died too young to disgrace us. So you dared not face Menelaus and find out what sort of a husband you had wronged.
I had my reasons.
That was wise, brother Paris. Neither your lyre playing, nor your pretty curls, nor your exquisite profile will avail you much against his sharp spear and sword.
Sharp words, dear brother Hector, coming from you. They cut like the axe of a shipwright. He shapes a beam, and every stroke tells. But why condemn Aphrodite's loving kindness to me? Should I be ungrateful for what she has so freely given?
Too freely.
Very well. If you forbid me to withdraw my challenge, then make your men sit down, ask the Greeks to follow their example, and watch me fight the unhappy Menelaus.
No.
Let our stakes be Helen and her fortune, the survivor to take both.
If you are true to your word, brother, well and good. A truce! A truce! Greeks and Trojans, disengage! Back! A truce! King Agamemnon, I appeal to you, a truce!
Hold your fire, comrades. Prince Hector of Troy has something to announce. He's pressing the men back with his spear shaft. Back, Greeks, back yourselves. I, the High King Agamemnon, accept a truce.
Trojans and Greeks, here is a message from my brother, Prince Paris of Troy. He invites you to ground arms, sit down and watch while King Menelaus and himself fight it out fairly between our lines. The stakes are Helen and her fortune. The survivor will take both.
So, the plan is single combat. What say you to that, Brother Menelaus?
As the chief sufferer from Prince Paris' treachery, I hope that the end of this hard-fought war is at last in sight. Very well. Whichever of us two may be doomed, he must die, and let the armies disengage without further fighting. But first, victims are needed. A white lamb for the sun, a black lamb for earth, and for Father Zeus, a ram. And King Priam of Troy must be summoned to witness this truce. We cannot trust his sons to act on his behalf.
So while the noblemen of both armies dismounted from their chariots, Hector of Troy sent 2 heralds scurrying across the plain to summon King Priam and fetch the sacrificial lambs. And when King Priam presently drove up in his chariot, Agamemnon treated him ceremoniously. A solemn sacrifice was performed, and oaths consecrated with the victim's blood and with libations of wine poured by all the royal witnesses. Hear how Agamemnon announced it.
The terms are as follows. If Prince Paris of Troy kills my brother King Menelaus of Sparta, he is at liberty to keep Queen Helen with her entire fortune, and we will sail peacefully home. If, contrariwise, King Menelaus of Sparta kills Prince Paris of Troy, you Trojans must surrender Queen Helen with her entire fortune, as well as paying me an indemnity so large that it will become proverbial. Item. Should King Priam and his sons fail to pay me the aforesaid indemnity, I shall regard this truce as void and fight the war to a finish.
Hector and Odysseus, having marked out the field of combat, dropped 2 pebbles into a bronze helmet, one for Paris, one for Menelaus, as lots to decide who should throw the first spear. Hector, keeping his head averted to ensure fair play, shook the helmet. Paris's pebble leapt out at once. Paris prepared for the fight, putting on a pair of greaves fastened at the ankles with silver clasps, and borrowing an inlaid corselet from one of his brothers. Across this he stretched a baldric, from which hung the scabbard of his silver-studded sword. A menacing horsehair crest embellished his helmet. Then he chose a large, strong shield, and a tough spear of convenient weight. When Menelaus had also armed himself, a deep hush fell on both armies, as the opponents strode forward simultaneously and stood brandishing their spears. Paris made the first cast.
Have at you! Cock hold!
His spear struck Menelaus's round shield, but the point failed to penetrate the thick layers of bull's hide. Now came Menelaus's turn.
Almighty Zeus, grant me vengeance!
His spear tore through Paris's shield. Paris jerked aside, and though his breastplate and tunic were pierced, took no hurt. Menelaus pressed the advantage, sprang forward, caught hold of Paris's helmet crest, and swung him bodily around. Half strangled by the embroidered chin-strap, Paris could not help being dragged off towards the Greek line. Here the combat would have ended in Menelaus' triumph and deathless glory, but...
What happened? What happened? Did you see? Chin-strap broke. Menelaus is holding an empty helmet. Where's Paris? Did anyone see him go? Vanished.
Behind the battlements on the walls of Troy, sit a group of aged Trojan counselors. Though too old to fight, they are admirable talkers, withered, persistent, and shrill as the cicadas that sing throughout a summer day, perched on the branches of forest trees. As Helen approaches, these greybeards mutter earnestly among themselves.
How entrancing she is.
Like an immortal goddess.
Indeed, I cannot blame Trojans and Greeks for battling over her so bitterly.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
But false.
Her presence here endangers us all.
Our Helen of Troy.
The goddess Aphrodite, disguised as an aged Spartan slave woman, tugs at Helen's perfumed robe.
My Lady Helen, Prince Paris sent me to fetch you. He is at home, stretched on his inlaid bed upstairs, wearing a fine nightshirt and as handsome as ever.
Ah, Aphrodite. I see through your mortal disguise. How can you deceive me so?
Deceive you?
Now that Menelaus has killed Paris and I must go back to Sparta, are you trying to lure me elsewhere? Have you taken a fancy to some new prince whom you want to reward with my accursed love, as you rewarded Paris of Troy? Why should I ornament another lover's couch? These Trojan women would rightly curse me if they heard of it, and I have trouble enough from them already.
You dare provoke my anger, hussy, and I will desert you. But by my timely help, Paris has escaped from the field of battle. Now will you come?
Forgive me, Aphrodite, divine protectress. Lead on to my house.
Greetings, dearest Helen.
So there you are, Paris, lying there on that bed. What a disgraceful sight. I almost wish my former husband had put you out of your misery.
Eh?
You used to boast yourself his match as a fighter. Very well, get up from that bed. Go back and challenge him once more.
Stop being cruel, Helen. This afternoon the goddess Athene helped Menelaus to win. Some other day I may be victorious. Who knows? You and I also have a goddess to assist us.
Dearest Paris.
Oh, darling, come and let us make love. I never felt so overpowering a passion for you since we eloped from Sparta. Oh, that first night together on the islet of Granae. This is going to be no less wonderful. Come.
I thank you, gracious Aphrodite. Forgive me again.
Oh, Helen, my Helen.
Meanwhile, Menelaus went prowling through the enemy ranks like a wild beast seeking the prey that has escaped it. But Paris was not to be found, and at last Agamemnon cried out,
Trojans, Dardanians, and you other Trojan allies, pray lend me your attention. I declare my brother Menelaus victor at this single combat, and I demand the immediate surrender of Queen Helen and her entire fortune. Furthermore, I demand an indemnity so large that it will become proverbial.
King Priam, who had returned to his city of Troy, would have felt obliged to make good so solemn an oath. But the goddesses Hera and Athene were still bent on the destruction of Troy. As a desperate expedient, Athene decided to break the truce and flew down to the battlefield disguised as a Trojan. Thus she appeared before King Pandarus, a Trojan ally.
Take my advice, Pandarus, and shoot King Menelaus. Think of the fame. Think of Paris' gratitude. If your arrow flies straight, he can be counted upon to pay you handsomely. Quick! Pick Menelaus off while you still may, and vow to wolfish Apollo, god of archers, that once safe home at Delia, you will sacrifice on his altar.
Like a fool, King Pandarus listened to Pallas Athene. He drew his polished oryx horn bow from its case, a magnificent weapon 8 foot long with golden tips. Lowering this to the ground, he strung it with bull's sinew, but did so behind a screen of shields. Next, he opened his quiver, fitted a brand new shaft to the bowstring, bent the bow back to his chest until the iron barbs were level with his bow hand. An instant later, he let fly. Horn twanged, string whined, arrow hurtled. But Athene posted herself in front of Menelaus, and like a loving mother brushing a fly from her sleeping child, guided the arrow to where it would do least damage, in his flank, nipping the skin.
An arrow has ripped my side. Treachery! Revenge me, Agamemnon!
Alas, my poor brother, I fear this truce has proved your ruin. The Trojans have broken the armistice and transfixed you with that arrow.
Transfixed?
Now I am more than ever convinced that Troy's doom is sealed.
But this arrow...
Yet I should be most unhappy, brother, if you succumb to that arrow. Your death by removing the cause of this war might set my men clamoring for home. And how ashamed I should be to find myself back in Mycenae, having allowed the Trojans to make good their old boast of keeping Helen.
This arrow...
Your bones, my brother, would rot in Trojan soil, and the proud Trojans, capering on your tomb, would scoff and say, "We pray the gods that Agamemnon has sailed away empty-handed, and noble Menelaus lies here beneath our feet, his mission unaccomplished. Rather let the earth swallow me alive than that the Trojans should say such things."
Then do not say such things yourself, brother. This arrow stings, but it has not wounded me in any vital spot, so why spread alarm and despondency?
Indeed, brother Menelaus, I hope that you are right. But pray send for a surgeon at once to examine your wound and apply a healing poultice. Where is Talthybius, my noble herald? Talthybius, send for the surgeon Machaon, son of Asclepius. Inform him with my compliments that some Trojan has unfortunately succeeded in wounding my brother King Menelaus. Will he please attend to him at once? And now, Greeks, fight with redoubled fury!
Thus the goddesses Hera and Athene had their way, and battle was resumed. The armies met with a clatter of bronze, fighting at spear's length or shield boss to shield boss. A tremendous din arose, cries of agony, shouts of exultation, as men killed or were killed, and blood reddened the earth. But the goddess Athene again intervened, and mounting the chariot of Diomedes, he was the young impetuous king of Argos, she helped him slaughter Trojans by the score. Why, it was the goddess Athene who guided one javelin cast of Diomedes that struck King Pandarus between nose and eye, penetrated his upper jaw, sliced his tongue, and emerged near the crook of his jawbone. Pandarus fell heavily to earth, and his horses jumped sideways in fright. Then Diomedes would have killed the renowned Aeneas of Troy, one day to found the city of Rome, but that his mother, Aphrodite, dived down to his rescue from Olympus. Many other Greek champions likewise distinguished themselves, the goddess Athene's presence everywhere giving the Greeks the upper hand. Even the aged King Nestor, though too old to fight, drove about the battlefield in a chariot, urging his comrades forward.
Come, my lads and brothers in arms, press on the rout! Kill as many Trojans as you can! Why compete with one another in collecting loads of booty? Wait until all is done, then strip the corpses at your leisure!
Meanwhile, the bright-helmed Hector tried to rally his disorganized Trojans, but he saw that only an immediate handsome sacrifice to Athene could avert further disaster. He hurried towards Troy to arrange this, and as he went, his enormous black bull's hide shield drummed against his powerful neck and ankles. He pushed through crowds of anxious women at the western gate of Troy, his mother Hecuba among them.
Oh, God, the fight, Prince! Tell me, Hector, I beseech you.
Leave me be, ladies! Leave me alone! Pray to the gods for victory! Pray to the gods!
Hector, my dear son, why have you left the battlefield? To invoke Father Zeus from our citadel here in Troy? Wait then, while I fetch you wine, for a libation to Zeus, and for your own refreshment.
Thank you, Mother, but I want no wine now. please assemble all the old noble women of Troy in Pallas Athene's temple.
Yes, my son.
Then unlock the holy inner shrine. Cover the divine image with your grandest robe, and vow her a sacrifice of 12 untried oxen if she will restrain Diomedes' terrible spear. And save our city, its women and its little children.
Yes.
Do so, while I persuade my cowardly brother Paris to resume the battle. Oh, that Mother Earth would open and swallow him.
Oh, deal gently with the poor lad, Hector.
Aphrodite's gift to him has brought nothing but grief upon our noble father Priam and all Troy. But first, pray to the gods. Pray, Mother, to all the gods.
Athene, guard this citadel. Athene, fair beyond compare, I pray you, guard it well. Snap Diomedes' lance. Let fate cause him to fall in sight of all dead at our western gate. And listen well, for here and now a sacrifice of no small price most reverently we vow. Pallas Athene, 12 oxen which have never yet suffered the goad, to you are owed. Think not we shall forget. But when Troy's soldiers call on you, guard well their lives, guard well their wives, their tiny children too. Pallas Athene.
Athene, however, stopped her ears against this prayer. Hector hurried to Paris's house and burst into the bedroom. But paused, abashed, when he found Helen among her women as they embroidered linen cloth, while Paris sat nearby.
Oh, excuse me, Helen, may I speak to my brother? Paris, you seem to bear some sort of grudge against Troy.
Why, Hector?
Is it not because of you that our people are dying in defense of these walls? You must have heard their shouts and screams, yet how often you belittle the courage of your brothers.
Sharp words again, Hector. But I bear no grudge against Troy. The truth is that after my duel, I felt a little sad. I wanted to have a good cry on the chair in this bedroom. Helen has just suggested that I should fight again, and I am taking her advice.
Her advice?
One never knows, does one, who will win the next round. Wait while I rearm, or else go ahead, I would soon overtake you. Ah, Helen, go and make my brother welcome.
Oh, Hector, my brother-in-law. If a creature like myself may venture to claim kinship with you.
Oh, Helen.
How I wish that a tempest had burst over me at birth and carried me off to my destruction.
No.
Or at least that I had eloped with a better man than Paris. Someone who would not make light of the contempt he deserves. Paris is, I fear, incorrigibly shameless. And all your troubles have been caused by my being a bitch and his being rotten to the core.
Oh, my dear Helen.
Father's use, of course, will punish us both in the end. And long after we are dead, bards will compose derisive songs about our failings. But do sit down, Hector, and rest a while.
I may not, dear Helen. I must hurry back. The troops need me. Make Paris hurry too, and see whether he can overtake me this side of the gate.
I will, Hector. Now, Paris.
Yes, Helen?
Paris, for my sake.
As Hector was returning to the battlefield, he met his wife, Andromache, and a nursemaid, carrying their 3-year-old son, Scamandrius.
Andromache, my love.
Oh, dearest husband, this reckless courage will be your undoing. Have pity on Scamandrius and me. Once you are gone out to the battlefield again, Nothing but sorrow awaits us. Be merciful. Stay here in Troy with me and our darling son.
I cannot, as you know well, Andromache, though forebodings weigh heavily in my heart. And surely you would not have me betray my honor. I have always fought in the vanguard for my father's glory and my own. Oh, but dearest Andromache, though our holy city of Troy is fated soon to fall, and though every man in Troy must die round King Priam, their doom troubles me little when I brood on the agony that awaits you, led weeping into slavery by some mail-clad conqueror. May I lie buried deep in earth by them, deaf to the sound of your heart-broken shrieks.
Hector stretched out his hand towards little Scamandrius, who shrank away, hugging his pretty nursemaid. The bronze armor terrified him, and so did the tall horsehair plume that nodded fiercely from his father's helmet. Andromache smiled amid her tears. Hector smiled too. He removed his helmet, laid it shining on the ground, took Scamandrius in his arms, kissing and dandling him, and whispered a prayer to Zeus for his safety.
O Zeus, sole ruler of the sky, and all you other gods on high, grant that my infant son may live to gather fame superlative. Reserve, I beg you, for this boy a bold, strong heart to govern Troy, and shine as once his father shone. May this whole city muse upon his feats of valor in a war to cheer his mother's heart once more. Then let all say, if say they can, his father was the lesser man. Dearest Andromache,
Hector,
I hand you back our son.
Hector, my beloved.
Oh, dearest wife, restrain your grief. No Greek will kill me, unless the gods permit him, and then who can evade his fate? Go home now. Attend to your spinning and weaving. Keep your women hard at work. War is a man's task, but especially mine as commander-in-chief. Leave that to me.
Hector picked up the plumed helmet, set it on his head again, and made quickly for the gate. As Andromache climbed the hill that led to the citadel, glancing back often, great tears rolled down her cheeks. Then Paris came running past and overtook Hector.
Oh, I am sorry for delaying so busy a man as you. I should have come at once.
Nobody underrates your fighting prowess, Paris, my brother.
I hope not.
But it is painful to hear our people complain of the disasters that your willful irresponsibility has brought on us all.
They'll have no more cause.
Well, we shall put everything right one day, perhaps. If Zeus ever lets us chase the Greeks into the sea...
The exhausted Trojans, still fending off Greek attacks, rallied nobly once the two brothers came rushing back to their aid. The armies met again with a clash of bronze, and then, after fearful slaughter, almighty Zeus thundered from Mount Ida as a sign that the Trojans would be victorious that day. Soon they had driven the Greeks behind the fosse and rampart that guarded their naval camp. At the palace window of Olympus, white-armed Hera, mother of the gods, turned to her stepdaughter, the goddess Athene.
Daughter of Zeus, can we allow any more of this? Why not intervene, if only for a last time? Our poor Greeks are on the point of massacre, and all because nobody dares face the battle rage of one single man, Hector of Troy. The terrible casualties he has inflicted.
Indeed, Queen Hera, nothing would please me more than to watch his death agony. But my perverse, stubborn, evil-tempered father, Zeus, continually upsets our plans. Now he is granting the silver-footed sea goddess Thetis whatever she asks, just because she kissed his knees and caressed his beard, and begged him to take pity on her son Achilles and help the Trojans. Tomorrow, perhaps Zeus will call me his bright-eyed darling again, but not today. Because Achilles is nursing his anger against the Greeks, Father Zeus will help the Trojans. Quick, Hera, Harness your horses while I arm myself for battle. Then watch Hector's face when we come charging on the scene. Trojan as well as Greek corpses will soon feed dogs and ravens by that accursed shore.
Steady, you unruly mares! Steady!
Almighty Zeus, however, from his seat on Mount Ida, saw what was afoot, and indignantly summoned Iris, the golden-winged.
Iris, messenger of the gods, fly as fast as you can, intercept those two goddesses, and warn them to keep out of this battle. For I do solemnly affirm, and so the thing shall be, that those who dare adventure there must take good heed of me, lest I should huff their horses' legs, and crush their chariot wheels, and roughly from the golden rail toss them head over heels. 10 long years will not cure the wound torn by my thunderbolt, and bright Athene learned too late the rashness of revolt. With Hera I am not so wroth, it is her doom indeed, to break or thwart with wifely art all laws by Zeus decreed.
Iris delivered Father Zeus's message, whereupon Hera and Athene turned their divine chariot about and drove fuming back to Olympus. That night, Hector of Troy, left in possession of the battlefield, bivouacked his men close to the Greek ramparts, guarding their fleet. Within the Greek camp, utter confusion reigned. Agamemnon, dazed by grief, convened a hurried council of war.
Comrades, Father Zeus must have cursed me with blindness. I never suspected so cruel a trick. Despite his firm promise that I should not quit these shores before sacking Troy, he now expects me to sail home dishonored by immense losses. If such is Zeus's pleasure, what can we do? Venerable Nestor, your advice was always voted the best in the old days. Give us more of it now.
Most noble son Virtuous, my lord Agamemnon the High King, I do not propose to speak at length on an empty stomach. Since night has fallen, let supper be prepared and a banquet spread for us councillors. This is at once the High King's duty and privilege. And your huts are well stocked with wine, ferried across from Thrace.
Then let supper be prepared. But meanwhile, give me your counsel, Venerable Nestor. To be ringed round by the enemy's campfires is no laughing matter. The fate of our expedition will be decided tonight.
My lord Agamemnon, I shall try to be as helpful as possible, and I doubt whether anyone here will speak wiser words than mine.
Indeed.
This thought has been floating in my head ever since the day when you sent your heralds to take the slave girl Briseis from Achilles' hut. Not only without our approval, but against my express warning.
Yes.
In short, you were a fool to let your proud heart betray you into dishonoring a hero whom the gods themselves honored. For you robbed Achilles of his prize and still retain her. Now he sulks in his hut, depriving us of his myrmidons. Yet it is not too late to think how we may win his renewed support by appeasing him with honeyed words and friendly gifts.
Venerable Nestor, your animadversions are well deserved. I do not deny having acted like a fool. I repent of my hasty passion and shall make amends in the form of a stupendous indemnity herewith offered to Prince Achilles, on the understanding that he yields to my entreaty and forgets his grudge.
We must also, of course, send acceptable delegates to Achilles' hut. See here. If I choose them myself, will anyone raise objection? First, I name the venerable Phoenix, Achilles' own tutor.
Graciousness.
Second, great Ajax.
Aye.
Third, King Odysseus.
My lord.
And 2 noble heralds shall accompany them. How's that? Now, pray, my lord, call for water that we may wash our hands before we eat of your beef and drink of your wine.
No, dear Patroclus, the tune goes thus.
Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la.
Who's there? Open the door, if you please, Patroclus.
Yes, my lord.
Well met, my lords. How glad I am to see your faces again. I've missed you all sorely, despite my anger. Greetings, Ajax.
Greetings.
Greetings, Odysseus.
Achilles.
Greetings, Phoenix, my beloved old tutor.
Greetings,
noble heralds.
Greetings, noble.
Here are settles and bales of purple carpet to sit upon. Take your ease, my lords. Patroclus, fetch a larger bowl, mix stronger drink, and bring 5 more cups for these friends of ours. A health, my lords! Health to you, Odysseus.
So they sat down and ate and drank heartily, and Achilles feasted them plentifully on beef, mutton, and pork roasted over the fire. Then Ajax nodded to Phoenix, who was to speak. Odysseus, however, intercepted the nod and spoke first.
Your health, Achilles. Huh? We can always be sure of a splendid feast not only at Agamemnon's hut, but also, it seems, in yours. But where to find good food and drink is by no means our sole preoccupation at the moment. On the contrary, great Achilles, after our serious reverse, we are doubtful whether, unless you step into the breach, we shall contrive to save the fleet. The Trojans and their allies are, as you know, bivouacking tonight behind a long line of fires just outside our defenses. Hector of Troy made havoc of our army today. He swears to assault the camp at dawn and burn our fleet. Noble Achilles, this is your last chance to save us wretched Greeks from massacre. Fail us, and you will always regret it.
Never.
My friend, do pray let your anger cool. The High King Agamemnon is anxious to conciliate you with gifts that match your achievements. Listen while I enumerate the treasure. 7 new 3-legged bronze kettles, 10 talents of gold, 20 shiny copper cauldrons, horses, 6 pairs of race-winning chariot horses.
Pray remember this.
7 craftswomen, marvelously beautiful girls, chosen by himself from the booty you won at Lesbos. Also the pretty girl of whom he deprived you the other day, namely Briseis of Lyrnessus, taking an oath that he has had no carnal knowledge of her.
Has he not?
All goods and prisoners will be delivered to you at once. And if Zeus grants us the honor of sacking Troy, then you may claim the additional right to select not only a whole shipload of gold and bronze, but the 20 loveliest women found in the city. Queen Helen alone accepted. Furthermore, if we come safely back to the rich land of Greece, Agamemnon, our high king, promises he will marry you to whichever of his 3 royal daughters you prefer.
My lord Odysseus, pray waste no more breath in coaxing me to change my mind. I hate a man who conceals his true feelings as I hate the gates of hell, and shall therefore make myself plain. Since Agamemnon never showed the smallest gratitude for the countless feats I performed at his request, neither he nor any Greek alive will persuade me to accept these belated advances. I led no less than 12 successful sea raids on Trojan towns and 11 successful land raids. From every one I brought back a huge haul of booty, which the greedy High King shared amongst his close friends, but he kept most of it to himself, doling out a few treasures only as prizes of honor. Though my fellow princes have kept theirs, Agamemnon chose to rob me, Achilles, of my little slave girl. Briseis is still in his power, and now he can do with her what he pleases. She no longer means anything to me. And since the High King has cheated me of my prize, I have learned to distrust him. And he may as well abandon his attempt at flattery.
Trojans are over the fosse at the ramparts.
Hector of Troy has driven you back behind the ramparts, says he. While I still took the field, he never ventured far from his walls. However, having no quarrel with noble Hector, I shall sacrifice to Zeus and his divine family at sunrise tomorrow. And those of you who care may watch my myrmidons pulling lustily at the oars as we sail off across the Hellespont.
Is the royal indemnity not enough? Oh, your hard bargainer, Prince Achilles.
Agamemnon has sent you here as his delegates because the shameless dog did not dare to meet my eyes. I reject this indemnity and would still reject it though he offered me 10 or 20 times more. I care not a straw for the High King. Tell him that I would scorn to marry a daughter of his even if she rivaled Aphrodite the Golden in beauty and Athene the Owl-Eyed in skill. And you may as well advise him to raise the siege.
Never in this sense.
Troy will never fall. All the world can see that Zeus protects those lofty walls. Nor do their defenders lack courage.
Oh, what a merciless fellow you are, Achilles. Any other man accepts blood money even for the loss of a brother or a son. You alone are different, it seems.
No insults.
The gods have planted in you a proud and implacable grudge, and all because of a girl captive. Now the High King offers you 7 others as well, the loveliest and most skilled in his possession, and further gifts of fabulous value. Why then deny us the courtesy due from a host to his guests? We came not only as the council's delegates, but as your brothers in arms. It hurts us to find ourselves received like strangers.
Noble Odysseus, you cannot make me relent. I am determined to take no further part in the war. Unless Prince Hector should attack these ships of mine. However, I believe he will keep his distance, eager for battle that he may be. Good night, my lords. And good fortune.
When battle was resumed next morning, King Agamemnon determined to prove himself Achilles' equal, and well enough he fought, butchering a dozen Trojans as he headed the advance, urging his comrades on. Men-at-arms speared men-at-arms, and chariot fighters chariot fighters, in a dense cloud of dust raised by their horses' hooves. A fire has seized the forest, flames from the brushwood start. They strike the leafy thickets and tear them wide apart. Winds whirl along destruction, a hissing, fiery wall against the forest giants that catch and blaze and fall. So also many proud Trojan noblemen fell before the High King's red-hot progress, and their empty chariots went careering over the battlefield. Agamemnon was already approaching the sheer walls of Troy when Zeus strode purposefully down from Olympus and seated himself on a spur of well-watered Mount Ida. Again, he summoned golden-winged Iris.
Iris, messenger of the gods, command Prince Hector to rally and encourage his troops, but wait in patience until Agamemnon is wounded and quits the field. I shall then let him drive the Greeks right back to their starting point and kill them without pause until nightfall.
Hector did as Zeus ordered, and presently a Trojan spear point pinked Agamemnon's shield arm near the elbow. He shuddered, but continued to ply spear and sword busily. Soon, however, the wound grew painful, and he began to moan and weep like a woman in travail. Then he remounted his chariot and headed despondently for the camp.
Trojans, Lycians, and Dardanians! The High King Agamemnon has left the field at last, and Zeus, son of Cronos, promises me, Hector, your commander, undying fame. Now show your mettle. Fight like heroes. Prepare for a chariot charge. On to victory!
Then Hector outdid Agamemnon in slaughter many times over. But Odysseus and Diomedes counterattacked and gave their comrades a brief breathing space, as when a couple of wild boars break back undauntedly to charge the yelping pack. But while Diomedes knelt to despoil a Trojan nobleman whom he had killed, Prince Paris of Troy, hidden behind a pillar that marked an ancient tomb, fitted an arrow to his bowstring and took aim. The barbed head transfixed the sole of Diomedes' right foot and pinned him to the ground.
Ah, a hit! But why did you not expose your groin, Diomedes, and let me make it a mortal shot? That would have been a great blessing to my people. You scare them as a lion scares mountain goats.
Oh, you nasty-mouthed, mean, jeering lady killer, with your little bow and your kiss curl. Oh, if we met in single combat using proper weapons, what would your chances be? Oh, this arrow is pinning my foot to the ground, coward. Yet it means less to me than a slap from a woman or a punch from a foolish small boy. When I fight, I fight. Yes, once my spear reaches the man at whom it is hurled, his widow is soon tearing her cheeks and bewailing her fatherless children. And vultures, not women, attend the furor. Oh, I'm in great pain. Keep guard, Odysseus, while I pull this arrow from my foot. Oh! Now, Odysseus, drive me off the field in your chariot.
Thus Diomedes was forced to quit, and so was Odysseus, speared in the leg. It was indeed a flaming battle. Achilles, from the high stern of his ship, watched it roar closer.
Patroclus!
Yes, dear Achilles?
I have seen Agamemnon, Odysseus, and Diomedes retire wounded from battle. Now Nestor has taken another wounded man aboard his chariot. He may have been Machaon of Thessaly. His horses ran too fast for me to be sure, but if it is Machaon, the Greeks can ill afford to lose a surgeon so skilled at extracting arrows and at healing wounds. Oh, Patroclus. Soon now the Greeks will be groveling in supplication at my knees. Run to Nestor's hut. Be quick, Patroclus, and bring me news.
Come in. Ah, it is you, Prince Patroclus. Welcome. Enter. Pray be seated and drink with my companion and myself.
I fear I cannot spare the time, venerable Nestor. I have been sent by a man universally feared and honored, Achilles, in fact. He asked me to identify your wounded companion, and since I recognize Machaon the surgeon, I must be off without delay.
Wherefore?
Venerable Nestor, you know of Achilles' quick temper. Unless I return at once, he will grow angry.
Why should Achilles be so anxious for news of the wounded? Is he waiting for the fleet to go up in flames before he will help us? Does his anger exceed his compassion? Here is your drink, my lad. Boiled onion juice, honey, and pearl barley. Most refreshing.
Thank you, venerable Nestor.
I repeat, why is Achilles interested in our losses? Does he still think only of his pride? I fear that he'll repent too late and shed vain tears over our heaped corpses. Yet I believe that if you, dear Patroclus, were to speak seriously to Achilles, he might listen.
If I were to speak,
Yes, there's no one like a friend for breaking down a stubborn spirit. And why should he not send you out at the head of his myrmidons, and let you borrow his own splendid suit of armor?
Oh, but
The Trojans would mistake you for Achilles, and such fresh and vigorous troops as yours should have no trouble in defeating Hector's exhausted army.
Yes, but...
Do I see a gleam in your eye? Are you longing to do battle?
Farewell, venerable Nestor.
Farewell.
I shall keep your words in mind. It may be that they will bear fruit.
By now, the Trojan nobles had dismounted from their chariots and were about to leap into the fosse that protected the Greek ramparts when a terrible portent occurred. They saw an eagle soaring high on their left hand, a large blood-red serpent clutched in his talons. But the serpent was still unsubdued. Writhing, it darted its fangs into the eagle's breast. The bird gave a scream of anguish, released his prey, and sailed off on a current of wind.
The serpent has fallen among us!
A sign from Zeus!
Is it good or evil?
Lord Polydamas, you are a trustworthy augur. Expound.
With Prince Hector's leave.
We have no time to waste on a trifle.
Expound! Expound! Hector, what we have seen is a manifest warning. An eagle flies high on the left hand, clutching a large, live, blood-red serpent, which he releases before the eaglets in his eyrie can feed on it. What augur in his senses could misread the divine message? We Trojans are the eagle, they are the serpent. Thus, even if you force the Greeks to retreat behind their rampart, the battle must continue. On reaching the fleet, your troops will be driven off and rolled back across the plain.
What nonsense, Polydamas. You are either joking or else mad. How can you ask me to forget Zeus's promise brought by his own messenger, golden-winged Iris, and confirmed with his divine nod? Instead, I'm expected to study the habits of carrion birds, am I? Well, they mean nothing to me, whether they fly east towards the dawn or west towards mist and darkness. I would rather trust the nod of Almighty Zeus, the king both of gods and men. A divine message. The best divine message is defend your country.
But, my lord Hector...
Are you scared, Polydamas? One thing stands to reason. That though all the rest of us die among the enemy's ships, you at least have no need of fear. Cowards always elude danger. Yet dare to hang back from this assault, or to talk your comrades over, and I will use my spear on you. Into the fosse, Trojans, and over that rampart!
The Trojans scaled the rampart, pulled down the parapet, and fought hand to hand against the Greek defenders at the turrets crowning it. A desperate struggle which recalled stubborn peasants disputing the ownership of village allotments. The field's not broad, but we contend. How much is his or mine? Says he, your frontier, greedy friend, runs here along this line. So I have brought a measuring rod and grudge him every inch, scoring my own line in the sod. I'll fight him at a pinch. Here, the disputed frontier lay between opposing parapets of shields, and spears took the place of measuring rods. Rampart and turrets dripped blood, yet neither side could dislodge the other. Spins all day, her children being small. A pound of yarn their food will pay. She rolls it in a ball and lifts the balance with dismay if either pan should fall. The fortunes of war remained no less delicately poised than that poor widow's scales, until Hector and his company forced their way over the bridge of a sally port. His comrades scaled the parapet and swarmed into the turrets. Hector grasped a huge, rough boulder that lay near the gateway. It was so enormous that the two strongest men living today could only just heave it from the ground. But the spirit of Zeus had come upon Hector. He lifted the boulder as easily as a shepherd would a sheepskin and ran towards the gates, which were tall, massive, and reinforced by crossbars bolted together. Planting himself a short distance away, advancing 1 foot in order to assist his cast, and aiming at the very center of the barrier, Hector let fly. With a deafening crash, the crossbars flew in pieces and the gates burst open. Hector's armor glinted, his eyes blazed, yet he looked grimmer than sudden night. No man alive could resist him now. It would need a god for that.
Follow me, Trojans! Follow me! Burn the enemy fleet!
My Lord King, my voice wearies. Another night I will sing more sweetly. Go to bed, dear muse, take your rest, and good night to you all.
That was part 2 of The Anger of Achilles, an epic for radio by Robert Graves, from his translation of Homer's Iliad. Agamemnon was played by Maurice Denham, Achilles by Robert Hardy, Odysseus by John Slater, Nestor by Norman Shelley, Hector by Gabriel Woolf, Paris by Trader Faulkner, and Helen by Jane Wenham. Phemius, son of Homer, a bard, was spoken and sung by Dennis Quilly. The music was specially composed by Roberto Gerard, and production for the BBC was by Raymond Rakes.
This is Chesterton Radio, the true, good, and beautiful at chestertonradio.com.
The Anger of Achilles. The BBC presents an epic for radio in 3 parts by Robert Graves. The Anger of Achilles, Part 3.
2,600 years ago, in a royal courtyard in Greece, an audience relaxing with wine cups at their elbows sat waiting for one of Homer's storytelling sons.
Wine for noble Phemius, the son of glorious Homer. Fill his agate cup to overflowing.
I thank you, noble king, shepherd of your people.
Your good health, son of blind Homer, to whom the muse has given inward sight.
And Apollo's blessing on this hospitable city.
Sing, Phemius, sing!
Sing the anger of Achilles.
Pray silence, lords, ladies, freemen, children, slaves. Honor Apollo and his noble servant, the bard Phemius, as he sings to the gods' turtle-shell lyre.
On this, my last night at your splendid court, most gracious king, I will end my tale from the 10th year of the long Trojan War, when 600 years ago, Prince Paris, aided by the love goddess Aphrodite, stole Menelaus' wife, Queen Helen of Sparta, and Priam, king of Troy, refused to send her back. I sing again of young Prince Achilles, who had brought his Myrmidons to fight against the Trojans. He had now quarreled with the High King, Agamemnon of Mycenae, the Greek commander-in-chief, and withdrawn his forces from battle, nursing bitter anger against the High King, who had abducted his slim-waisted slave girl, Briseis. I sang before of Achilles' anger and of its implacability. Tonight, if the muse will favor me, I will tell how Achilles' anger was assuaged. A sorrowful and bloody tale. The triumphant Trojans, now sworn to capture the Greek fleet, advanced like a storm or a forest fire, rank upon rank, their helmets glittering. Prince Hector of Troy led them, covered by his huge, round, bronze-plated bull's hide shield, and his tall helmet plume nodded as he went. When Hector bade them charge, his troops raised a war cry, but the Greeks stood fast, yelling defiance. The combined roar rose to high Olympus, where Father Zeus holds splendid court. It was also clearly heard by old King Nestor of Pylos, as he sat drinking cheese-flavoured Pramnian wine with the chief surgeon of the Greeks, Machaon, son of Asclepius, and himself wounded in battle.
What are we to do, noble Machaon? The din grows louder. I must make a tour of inspection. I will take this shield and that stout, keen-bladed spear. But stay here, good Machaon, and drink until my slave girl, Hecamede, has heated water and washed the clotted blood from your wound.
Outside, a shameful sight confronted King Nestor. The Trojans were over the rampart, pursuing a mob of terrified Greeks. He paused uncertainly. Should he rally his comrades? Then he saw 3 wounded, dismal kings hobbling forward to view the battle, leaning heavily on their spears. Young Diomedes, once triumphant king of Argos, crafty Odysseus, king of Ithaca, subdued for once, and now no less a personage than the high king Agamemnon himself.
Why, venerable Nestor, what is this? Have you deserted your subjects?
Oh, my lord Agamemnon, are you wounded too?
Shield arm near the elbow.
Zeus must surely have turned against us. As you see, the rampart is overrun. Our troops scurry about in all directions. I suggest that we avoid battle ourselves.
Yes.
For what can wounded men do? And hold a council at once to consider means of saving the day.
You are right, friend Nestor. Almighty Zeus seems determined upon our ruin. Here is Odysseus.
Speared in the leg.
And beside him Diomedes.
Pierced in the foot.
All of us forced to nurse our painful wounds. Now, this is my advice. Let us at once embark in the first line of ships, those at the water's edge, and then anchor until nightfall at a safe distance from the shore. Later, if the Trojans retire, though even darkness may not check them, we might perhaps launch the second line.
King Agamemnon. What do I hear?
Surely, Odysseus, we need not apologize for evading disaster, especially by night. The quicker you run, the longer you live.
Cowardly wretch. Fit only to command a rabble, not the good soldiers whom Zeus has worse luck allowed you to waste in a succession of disastrous campaigns. Do you really intend to raise the siege after so many years of struggle and suffering? Once the troops get wind of your proposal, they'll break off the fight and rush panic-stricken down to the shore. A catastrophe for which, my lord Agamemnon, you alone will be responsible.
No, upon my word, Odysseus, I was not thinking of an evacuation against the army's wishes. In fact, I'm quite ready to accept more bellicose counsel. But what does King Diomedes think? You stood silent all this while, you whom we call Diomedes of the loud war cry.
My lord Agamemnon, if you can accept advice without resentment, for I am the youngest man present, I believe that, wounded though we be, it is our duty to appear on the battlefield. And though we must stay out of spear range, lest we be wounded a second time, we can at least spur forward those of our comrades who have hitherto kept in the rear.
I cordially agree.
Forward, then, I'll lead the way.
Standing on a spur of many-peaked Olympus, Hera, mother of the gods, gazed down at the naval camp and was delighted to see her brother, the sea god Poseidon, disguised as the prophet Calchas, busily rallying her beloved Greeks. But a glance at Mount Ida told her that Zeus was still seated there, determined to let the Trojans win the day.
Oh, how I loathe my tyrannical husband. If only I could make him change his mind. Why not visit Mount Ida, ravishingly dressed, and make him conceive a sudden passionate desire for me? Then, when I have lured him into bed, I will persuade Morpheus, god of sleep, to settle on his eyelids and fog his sharp wits, while Poseidon leads my Greeks to victory. Yes, this can be contrived, I believe.
So saying, the goddess Hera retired to her gilded boudoir, shot the bolt, and took off all her clothes.
Now, first I'll use this ambrosial lotion to remove every stain or smutch from my delicious body. Next, I rub this ambrosial oil into my skin, a wonderful unguent, so penetratingly fragrant that I have merely to unstopper this flask anywhere in the palace for its scent to spread through heaven and the entire earth. Now a little of this same oil on my hair. Comb it well in. Plait these long, shining tresses. And a fresh linen robe, the one woven for me by industrious Athene.
So saying, the goddess Hera pinned a number of handsome jewels on the robe and fastened it across her breast with golden clasps. Then she hooked a lucent 3-drop earring into each lobe to make herself look even lovelier, and finally draped a splendid new veil, bright as the sun, over head and shoulders. And nor did she forget a beautiful pair of sandals. Well satisfied with her appearance, Hera called quietly to the love goddess Aphrodite.
Aphrodite. Dear child, you won't surely deny me a favour just because you support the Trojans in this war and I the Greeks.
No, certainly not, Queen Hera. Tell me your needs, and unless the favour is beyond my power, I shall be charmed to grant it.
Well, could you possibly lend me your magical girdle?
My girdle?
The fact is, I'm visiting my ancient uncle and aunt, King Oceanus and Queen Tethys, who brought me up in their distant palace when I was virtually left an orphan. I want to end that stale old quarrel of theirs. They have not slept in the same bed for ages. If I can only reconcile them and arrange a second honeymoon, they will forever hold me in the greatest affection.
So, without hesitation, Aphrodite unfastened the exquisite embroidered girdle which housed her enchantments, namely, love, and love-longing, and love-talk. Magical powers that fool even the keenest intelligence.
To refuse you this little thing, Queen Hera, would show disrespect to your husband, Father Zeus. Here, take this girdle. Hide it in a fold of your robe, and your mission can hardly fail.
Hera smiled triumphantly and flew eastward over the rough Aegean Sea. At the island of Lemnos, she went in search of Morpheus, god of sleep, and took him by the hand.
Sweet Morpheus, please help me, and I shall be eternally in your debt.
Tell me more, Queen Hera.
Soon, when Zeus and I have performed the act of love, I want you to settle on his shining eyes and softly close their lids. If you do that for me, I will ask my son, the smith god Hephaestus, to forge you an imperishable golden throne with a magnificent footstool for festive use.
Divine Mother of the gods, I can easily make other immortals drowse off, but I dare not serve Father Zeus thus, unless I have his express sanction.
Oh, but
you may remember I found myself in trouble a couple of generations ago after doing you this very favour.
Did you?
Yes. When I took advantage on that occasion of Zeus's soporific state, you let loose a great tempest and drove his son Heracles' ship far off course.
Oh, yes.
Then Father Zeus awoke and in dreadful anger began to toss all Olympians out of his palace trying to catch me. I would have been hurled down from the bright upper air to perish in the pit of hell, had it not been for dear Mother Night, with whom I took hurried refuge. And you ask me to risk my life a second time? I must regretfully decline.
Morpheus, your qualms are foolish. Grant me this favour, and I will marry you to the youngest and prettiest of the three Graces.
To Passia?
Yes.
Oh.
And you've long been in love with her.
Very well.
Ah.
Under cover of a thick mist, Queen Hera and the god of sleep flew together to Mount Ida, where he perched on a pine tree in the shape of a nightjar, while Hera, now wearing Aphrodite's girdle, went on alone. As soon as Zeus saw her, the most passionate desire seized him.
It was exactly like that delightful occasion centuries before when, unknown to their kind-hearted parents, these two first committed incest together. But Father Zeus was puzzled by Hera's unexpected visit.
Dear wife, what brings you here? And where did you leave your chariot for the steep return journey?
Dearest husband, my mind is set on patching up that quarrel between our ancient uncle and aunt, King Oceanus and Queen Tethys.
Oh.
I thought you might have been annoyed if I'd gone without an explanation. I have left my chariot team tethered at the foot of this mountain.
Oh, darling Hera, surely another day will do as well. Let us make love at once. Never in my entire life have I felt such intense longing for goddess or nymph as I feel for you this afternoon. Why, my interest in Danae, the girl with the beautiful ankles, on whom I begot the hero Perseus, was nothing at all by comparison.
What? I should certainly hope not.
The same applies to the celebrated Europa, on whom I begot Minos and his brother Rhadamanthus, the judges of the dead.
That cow-eyed trollop.
Indeed, it equally applies to Semele, on whom I begot the universally adored Dionysus, and to Alcmene of Thebes, on whom I begot bold Heracles.
Infidelity after infidelity, you glory in them.
And to our own sister Demeter, the goddess with the beautiful locks, on whom I begot Persephone. And to the famous Leto, on whom I begot Apollo and Artemis. Why, I would venture to say, dearest wife, that I have never yet conceived so delirious a passion, even for yourself. Come into my arms at once.
Revered son of Cronos, what a shocking idea. Do you mean us to make love up here in full sight of all Olympus?
Yes.
Suppose some god were to play spy and tell the other immortals what he'd seen. I should never have the face to go home after that. It would certainly give me a pardonable grievance against you. However, if I must humour you in this inconvenient fashion, pray take me to the Olympian bedchamber which our son Hephaestus made for us. We can be private there.
No, darling Hera. Have no fear that either god or man will witness our marital sport. I shall spread an immense golden cloud over us, which even the brightest eye in existence, the sun's, will fail to pierce.
Almighty Zeus then caught hold of Hera, laid her down masterfully, and took his pleasure of her. The earth beneath them was divinely induced to sprout a soft, thick carpet of fresh grass, tender clover, crocuses and hyacinth flowers that raised the lovers a hand's breadth into the air. So they embraced on the crest of Gargarus, covered by a golden cloud from which cool, sparkling dew dripped upon their naked bodies, until Zeus dozed off, conquered by the arts of love and sweet Morpheus.
Now to accomplish Hera's plan.
Then Morpheus hurried towards the Greek camp, where he sought out the sea god Poseidon.
Greetings, Poseidon. You always stir your sea to a turmoil, but now the coast is clear at last. Hera has tricked Zeus into pleasuring her, and I have lulled him to sleep. Go, help the Greeks as much as you wish. Let them enjoy the hour of glory.
I thank you heartily, god of sleep.
Greeks, follow me now. Collect the broadest shields and the toughest spears in camp. Put on your glittering helmets and form up behind me. Hector of Troy will not long withstand us.
Despite their aching wounds, the three kings, Agamemnon, Diomedes, and Odysseus, rearmed and offered their services to Poseidon, the earth shaker.
For no longer disguised as the prophet Calchas, he now wielded that terrible keen-edged sword of his, which resembles a lightning flash, and which no mortal dares face in battle. A sea wave came hissing among the Greek ships and huts, and at this signal they advanced with a resonant shout. Seas that break against the bill, when winds blow northeasterly, fire that sweeps a wooded hill, gales that howl in bush or tree. None such ever raised so dreadful a din as the roar of battle that went up when the Trojan and Greek armies clashed once more. Hector of Troy hurled his spear at great Ajax's exposed breast and struck it at the point where shield baldric and sword baldric cross. The blade turned without penetrating the corslet. Then suddenly a rock flew over the rim of Hector's shield and caught him below the neck. Ajax had picked up and thrown one of the many large boulders, chocks for beached vessels, now rolling among the fighters' feet. It spun Hector of Troy around like a peg top. He clattered to the dust. At once the Greeks rushed up, trying to drag Hector away, but the bravest Trojans in the field carried him moaning to his chariot and drove off towards Troy. At this moment, Zeus, father of gods and men, awoke on the peak of Gargarus. He disengaged himself from Hera's arms, leapt to his feet, and turned towards Troy. There he saw a column of Greek champions led by the sea god Poseidon, driving before them a mob of frightened fugitives, while at a ford of the deep Scamander River, a group of Trojans crouched in tears around the moribund Hector.
Oh, Hera, with what crooked arts you meddle in this fight. Prince Hector bleeds beside the ford, his men are turned to flight. Beware lest now I take revenge, my lovely queen, on you, thrashing your exquisite white skin till it turns black and blue. Once long ago I trussed you up so neat, with golden gyves about your wrists and anvils on your feet, hanging you from the cloudy pole for all the world to see. The immortal gods were mad with rage, but could not set you free. The ugly story I repeat, false wife, to rouse your fears, that this new treasonable trick may end in floods of tears.
Dear Lord, I swear by earth and heaven, by the tumbling waters of Styx, by your own sacred head and by our marriage bed to which I have always remained faithful, that Poseidon did not take the field against the Trojans at my suggestion. He gave way to a sudden impulse of pity for the hard-pressed Greeks. Had he consulted me, I should of course have advised him to leave well alone.
Poseidon, get back to your watery domain.
So Zeus, having ordered Poseidon back to his underwater palace, and he reluctantly obeyed, sent the god Phoebus Apollo to revive Hector. And the Greeks, still pursuing Trojans with swords and spears, suddenly became aware that Hector of Troy had taken the field again. At once, every man's heart sank to his sandals. Hector's free-striding chariot team led the countercharge, and in front of him flew the god Apollo, his shoulders wrapped in cloud, carrying a bright, dreadful, shaggy-fringed shield, which reduced the Greeks to impotence. Back into the Greek camp surged the Trojans over a firm, broad bridge, which Apollo had improvised from the broken parapet. A little boy laughing for glee builds castles by the summer sea, then exercises foot and hand to scatter them in clouds of sand. So, with equal ease and merriment, Apollo kicked down an ample length of rampart and drove the panic-stricken Greeks back to their ships.
Achilles! Dear Achilles! Why come whining to me, my dear Patroclus, like a disappointed little girl to her mother? Is it because Agamemnon, the High King of the Greeks, is at last being punished for his ingratitude to me? Out with the truth.
Achilles, the three kings, Agamemnon, Odysseus, Diomedes, even our surgeon Machaon are all severely wounded. Oh, how can I make you relent?
You cannot.
What thanks will future generations give you if your greatest fame rests on a refusal to intervene while their fathers are being massacred? Achilles, Let me lead your myrmidons against the enemy. Place them under my orders, dear comrade, and lend me your armor. When the Trojans see your helmet crest, they are sure to mistake me for you, and then a sudden charge by our fresh troops should drive them from our camp.
Oh, Patroclus, how you run on. This black mood of mine, as you well know, is due solely to my having been robbed by King Agamemnon. In carrying off Briseis, my slave girl, my prize of honor, captured by me, he treated me like a camp follower. Yet no man, I suppose, can stay angry forever. You were right. I saw Agamemnon and Diomedes leaving the field. Odysseus and our surgeon, Machaon, too. Now I hear only Hector's yells of encouragement to his Trojans. Very well. Take my famous armor and lead out my myrmidons. But listen to me. Once you have freed our camp of the enemy, go no further. For although Zeus the Thunderer may crown you with glory, it will hurt my honor if you yield to ambition and take too much on yourself. Come back as soon as your main task is accomplished and leave the two armies battling on the plain. No, Patroclus! One of our ships is on fire!
Oh, my lord.
You must intervene at once and guard our flotilla if we are ever to return. Take my armor, buckle it on, then yoke and harness my team of horses, Windswift, Xanthus, and Valius. But first, call the Myrmidons to arms.
Wasps that build their fragile nest by the track may prove a pest. If a careless passer-by treads too near it, out they fly, buzzing loud with fortitude in defense of their young brood. Still more strident are their tones when small boys come flinging stones. Then in fury wasps attack all who venture up the track.
Forward, like angry wasps, Myrmidons! Show what you can do! Teach the High King Agamemnon how blind he was to dishonor our great commander, Achilles, the finest fighter in this army, as you were its finest contingent!
The Myrmidons did all and more than Prince Patroclus asked of them. They not only saved the ships, but drove the Trojans out of the camp headlong, and this time for good. Father Zeus, however, who can fool any mortal, encouraged Patroclus to exploit his victory. After inflicting immense losses on the Trojans, he forgot Achilles' orders, mounted the chariot, lashed Xanthus and Balius to a gallop, and tried to capture Troy single-handed. Prince Patroclus met with divine chastisement for this presumption. Cloaked in mist, the god Apollo stepped behind Patroclus, and with the edge of his hand struck him on the neck. The borrowed helmet flew off and rattled away in the dust. The borrowed spear shattered in his grasp, and Apollo unbuckled his corselet. As Patroclus stood, dazed, trembling, and at a loss, Hector of Troy darted forward and speared him low in the belly.
Ah, Patroclus! See how Achilles has deceived you. It is not armor alone that makes a hero.
Boast of your triumph, Hector, son of Priam. It was given you by Zeus and by Apollo. Otherwise I could have dealt with a score of champions as strong as you. But be warned, Hector. I see death and fate hovering over your head. Achilles will avenge me.
Achilles knew nothing of Patroclus' fate, because the battle had been fought far away under the walls of Troy. But his horses Xanthus and Balius, which had escaped from the fighting, stood weeping beside the river.
Staunch as a headstone on the tomb of man or woman dead, each creature stood oppressed by gloom, in anguish at Patroclus' doom. Abasing his proud head, their golden manes once flaunted high above the yoke, drooped dismally upon the marshy ground.
But Father Zeus now took pity on Xanthus and Balius.
Poor immortal teammates. You were not meant to share man's sorrows. And upon my word, I can think of no more miserable creature that draws breath and crawls on the face of this earth than man. Still, I promise you one thing. Hector of Troy shall never mount Achilles' beautiful chariot and become your master.
So Xanthus and Balius raised their muzzles, shook the dust from their manes, and galloped away. While Achilles, watching the distant battle from the stern of his ship, wondered why the Greeks were streaming back.
My lord Achilles, son of Nestor. Tell me the worst. Alas, Prince Achilles, I am entrusted with a hateful message. We are bringing you Patroclus' naked corpse, despoiled by Hector the bright helm.
Patroclus! Dead?
Achilles scooped up handfuls of black ashes, which he poured over his head, rubbed on his face, and let fall on his tunic. Slave girls saw him tumble, groaning to the ground in an ecstasy of grief. They rushed from the hut and gathered about him, their knees trembling. The son of Nestor likewise lamented, but was careful to hold Achilles' hand, for fear he might cut his own throat. Achilles' groans were so deep and dismal that his mother, the silver-footed sea goddess Thetis, heard them from afar off at the bottom of the sea. She swam through the salt waves and stepped ashore on the beach where Achilles' ships lay, gunwale to gunwale. There she knelt beside her recumbent son.
Why do you weep, child? Tell me what ails you.
Oh, mother. Patroclus, the friend whom I loved as myself, is dead. Today, Hector of Troy killed him. Here I sat, a useless encumbrance to the earth, while Hector slaughtered Patroclus. Still pleased to nurse my grudge against Agamemnon. It smoldered in my heart and was as sweet to me as trickling honey. But now I shall forget my injury and exact vengeance on Hector. The Trojans shall know to their cost that I am fighting once more. Mother, in your deep love, do not persuade me not to fight, or I shall stop my ears.
Dear child, who can blame you for rallying to the aid of your distressed comrades? Yet Hector is flaunting your own fine armor. Wait until tomorrow before challenging him. At sunrise, I promise to bring you a suit newly forged by none other than Hephaestus, the smith god.
Mother, these splendid arms are worthy of the divine giver.
Then up, my son, and take vengeance on your enemies.
I, Achilles, son of Peleus, summon all Greeks to the assembly ground. My lord Agamemnon, our recent scandalous quarrel has profited us nothing. I heartily wish that my slave girl Briseis had died at the sack of Lyrnessus rather than cause the loss of so many of your noble comrades. I say, let us henceforth keep a close guard on our tongues. I am willing to forget my anger if you, my lord king, since your wounds keep you inactive, appoint me commander-in-chief of your army.
Heroic comrades, pray be courteous and listen to me in silence as though I was standing, for my wound keeps me seated. Even a practiced orator finds it hard to ignore a buzz of interruptions. Nor can his audience hear what he is saying. I thank you. Now, I shall address Prince Achilles and call upon every man present to witness my words. Son of Peleus, others beside yourself have often deplored my ill-considered utterances. Yet Zeus, and fate, and the Fury who walks in darkness are more to blame than I. They fooled me by suggesting that I should demand a certain possession of yours. Pray show forgiveness. Are we mortals not always at the mercy of the immortals? I fully admit the error, though not the responsibility for what I have done, and eagerly desire to make you amends in the form of handsome damages. I ask no return, but that you will lead my army, a commission which you have anticipated. If, therefore, you care to wait while the gifts previously offered to you by King Odysseus are placed again at your disposal, I will keep my promise and issue the necessary orders.
My lord king, whether you keep your promise or not must be your own concern. I have set my heart on immediate battle. And subtle speculations about the divine authorship of our dispute do not interest me anymore.
My lord Achilles, nobody doubts your courage, but do not take hungry men into the field. Pray allow your comrades to breakfast first on meat and wine.
King Odysseus, how can you talk of breakfast when so many Greek corpses strew the plain? Corpses of your friends, whom Zeus helped Hector kill. I would have the army fight dry-throated and empty-bellied all day.
No.
And at nightfall, enjoy a huge feast in celebration of vengeance victoriously taken. Myself, I will touch neither food nor drink before then.
Nevertheless, my lord Achilles, since I am older and more experienced than you, listen to me. A breakfast interval will allow Agamemnon to produce his gifts for you to admire. I'm sure they will please you. Further, by way of perfect appeasement, the High King is prepared to swear that he has never slept with this slave girl Briseis.
And thus it was, thanks to crafty Odysseus, that Achilles ordered the troops disperse for their breakfasts, while his myrmidons fetched from Agamemnon's treasure the exact indemnity promised. The 7 tripods, the 10 talents of gold, the 12 horses, the 20 shining new copper cauldrons, the 7 captive women, and lovely Briseis herself. Briseis at once flung herself on Patroclus' corpse and wailed loudly, tearing her breasts and neck and beautiful face.
Oh, generous Patroclus, my protector. When I left your hut, you were still alive. Alas, how I am dogged by misfortune. After Achilles had widowed me at the sack of Lyrnessus, he would often say, "Dry your eyes, Briseis, daughter of Mynes. I will persuade him to marry you. Then we 3 shall sail off together and celebrate your wedding feast at Phthia." Oh, my heart aches. No kinder man than Patroclus ever lived.
Soon battle was joined. How many bold Trojans Achilles killed that morning, it would weary me to tell and you to hear. But his weapons, armor, and chariot wheels were bathed in blood, while Father Zeus rumbled terribly from the sky. And his brother, the sea god Poseidon, shook plains and high mountains with a heavy earthquake. The spurs of many-fountained Mount Ida quivered, so did the citadel of Troy, and the Greek fleet rocked, though on dry land. Achilles continued his carnage, and old King Priam, posted on the watchtower, saw his terror-stricken Trojan subjects streaming towards him. With a shout of alarm, he descended to the battlements.
Sentries! Unbar both wings of the gate, and keep them wide open to admit your hard-pressed comrades. When all are safely home, shut the gate again, in the face of bloodthirsty Prince Achilles.
Parched and grimy, the Trojans came pelting along, harried by Achilles' great lance, and poured impetuously into the city as fast as their weary legs would take them. The Greek army followed with raised shields, finding no opponents still alive on the plain, except Hector the bright-helmed alone, whom destiny compelled to post himself in front of the gate.
Hector, sweet son, come inside, I implore you. Achilles is far stronger than you and knows no mercy. Beware, he is almost upon you.
Achilles runs up like a victorious racehorse, his divine armor blazing like the dog star at harvest time. He is almost upon Hector, brandishing the dreadful lance, when suddenly Hector pretended to be terrified of him and ran off, darting at great speed close under the walls, past Priam's watchtower. Then, along a wagon track towards two neighboring sources of the river Scamander, past the massive troughs used by Trojan housewives where they washed their fine linen in days of peace. The god Phoebus Apollo so strengthened Hector's lungs and legs that even swift-footed Achilles failed to overtake him. Hector hoped to reach the battlements covering the Dardanian gate, where his comrades would send a volley of spears at Achilles. But whenever he approached it, Achilles spurted, took the inside berth, and forced him out towards the plain. 3 times they circled the walls of Troy, and when they came to the troughs on their 4th circuit, Zeus grasped his golden scales and laid a lot in each of the pans, one for Achilles, one for Hector, and poised them carefully. Hector's lot sank down, at which sign of doom the god Phoebus Apollo abandoned him to his fate. The goddess Athene now appeared before Hector, having taken the shape of his brother Prince Deiphobus, and pretending to have run out from the Dardanian gate. She hailed him in Deiphobus' voice.
Dear brother, this is I, Deiphobus, come to your rescue. Stop, stand, and let us face Achilles together.
Deiphobus, always the best of brothers to me and never more welcome than now. So you alone dare to come to my aid.
Yes, brother. Let us now fight together like heroes. Call Achilles closer. See where he pauses, leaning on his lance.
Come within casting distance, Achilles. You and I must now fight it out. But first let us swear an oath that whichever by Zeus' leave kills and despoils the other will not dishonor the corpse, but convey it to his own people for burial.
Madman, dare you bargain with me? Now die, since no escape is left. I am promised victory by Pallas Athene and shall make you pay in full.
Poising his great lance, Achilles hurled at Hector.
A miss! Has Pallas Athene perhaps deceived you? Now guard your head. May this spear cast free Troy of the worst terror that this long war has brought upon her.
Hector's hurtling spear struck the center of Achilles' shield, but rebounded harmlessly from the enchanted metal.
Quick, Deiphobus, my brother, lend me another spear. Deiphobus, where are you? Oh, I understand. That was Athene disguised as my brother. I'm betrayed. Yet I will not die without first performing a feat of arms fit to stir the hearts of all posterity. I have still my broadsword.
Hector, brandishing his sword, ran at Achilles. How was he to know that the goddess Athene had pulled Achilles' lance from the earth and restored it to his grasp? In an ecstasy of rage, Achilles leapt to the encounter, shield held high and golden plumes waving, drove his lance through Hector's bare throat, and sent him crashing to the ground.
At last I am avenged for sweet Patroclus' death. At last I can give him a splendid funeral, and fling his murderer to the dogs and kites.
Oh, Achilles, by all that you hold sacred, spare my corpse. My father, King Priam, will ransom it, whatever the price.
Ransom? If King Priam came out himself with a pair of scales, eager to pay me the weight of your corpse in gold, I should laugh at him. No, nothing in the world can keep the carrion birds from tearing at your belly or the dogs from crunching your bones.
Dying men foresee the future. Since I cannot melt that heart of iron, know that my brother Paris will avenge me. With an arrow
piercing your one mortal spot, the heel of your right foot.
The shadow of death touched Hector, life ebbed away, and his ghost fled to the gloomy kingdom of Hades, bewailing his lost youth and pride. Achilles freed the lance and stooped to unbuckle Hector's blood-stained armor, setting himself to outrage the corpse. Having slit the tendon of each foot from heel to ankle, he looped a rawhide thong through the holes and bound both ends to his chariot tail. Then he mounted, flung the spoils of battle beside him, lashed his horses Xanthus and Balius to a gallop, and away they flew. Hector's corpse trailed after them, churning up the dust, his dark, flowing locks disheveled, and his once glorious features begrimed with filth of the battlefield. Such was the fate ordained for Hector by Almighty Zeus, to have his body desecrated in full sight of his fellow citizens. Queen Hecuba screamed, tore her hair, and cast away her bright veil. King Priam moaned piteously, and his subjects wept and howled as though Troy were tumbling in blackened ruins about them. And even Queen Helen, though every Trojan woman now eyed her with hatred, ventured on this heartbroken dirge. But Hector's wife, Andromache, knew nothing of his death. No reliable message, even of his decision to stay outside the city walls, had reached her house. She sat at the loom, weaving a pattern of flowers into a wide purple cloth. Then, at the sound of the distant dirge, Andromache started, so violently that the shuttle fell to the floor. She rushed to the thronged battlements, her breast heaving. There she looked down, and all went black before her eyes. That evening, Achilles built Patroclus a tall pyre 100 feet square, upon which he and his myrmidons reverently placed the bier. Next, they slaughtered a whole flock of sheep and a herd of cattle. Achilles flayed the carcasses, stripped off the fat, swathed Patroclus in it from head to foot, and spread the flesh about him. He also leaned against the bier a row of 2-handled jars full of oil and honey, sacrificed 4 gallant horses, groaning aloud as he did so, and lastly 12 Trojan prisoners whom he had kept for this occasion, adding their bodies to the holocaust. Then he kindled the fire, and boisterous sea winds kept the flames roaring all night. Achilles tramped about the pyre, emptying on the earth a two-handled goblet which he constantly replenished from a golden wine bowl, moaning, howling, and crying farewell to Patroclus' ghost.
Hail, Patroclus, hear my call, echoing through King Hades' hall, true to the promise that I made. 12 Trojans on your pyre are laid. Then rest assured I will not pay like honor to mad Hector's clay. In vengeance of his impious deed, no flames, but dogs shall on him feed.
They heaped a barrow over Patroclus' ashes, and funeral games were celebrated in his honor. But Achilles' grief remained unassuaged. Again and again he would rise from his couch at night to drag Hector's naked corpse, tied to his chariot tail, 3 times round the barrow. Then he would return, leaving it lying prone in the dust. But still he could not sleep.
In vengeance of his impious deed, no flames, but dogs shall on him feed. Thetis, my beloved mother.
Dear son, this grief will be the death of you. Why not try food and rest? Even sleeping with a slave girl might be helpful. But here is a message from Zeus himself. He and his fellow gods are angered by your denial of Hector's corpse to the parents.
If Father Zeus commands me to surrender Hector's corpse, I shall obey. Though the ransom must be enormous.
Almighty Zeus sent Hermes, messenger of the gods, to King Priam. This was his message. Out, Priam, out to the Greek camp. Take splendid gifts in hand, and seek Achilles where he lurks, beside the salt sea strand. Yet ride alone, poor desolate king, save for a herald true, to drive a mule cart through the night and guide its team for you, which cart 2 purposes shall serve, to heap those gifts upon and fetch away the ransomed corpse of Hector, your great son.
Achilles, I, King Priam, clasp your knees as a suppliant and implore mercy in the name of your father, King Peleus. Like me, he is old and stricken, yet sometimes news comes to him that you are alive and well. He grows cheerful again, thinking, one day my son Achilles will return. Alas, no such hope can sustain me. For my son Hector died at your spear point in the defense of Troy. And I have come with a load of treasure to ransom his body, Prince Achilles. For the sake of your father, show me compassion.
Lies, my lord king. Alas, how you must have suffered. Come, sit down quietly beside me.
But how can I sit at my ease while my son Hector's corpse lies unburied in your lines? Accept the huge ransom I have brought with me.
Venerable Priam, I had decided to restore Hector's corpse. Even before you came, I received a message from Zeus. And now I am convinced that some god must have led you to me. I will place your son's body under the tilt of your cart, and you may drive him home.
You are generous, Prince Achilles.
Tonight you shall eat in my hut.
So be it. I'll return to Troy at dawn.
Make up a bed for me and let us court sweet sleep. I have not closed my eyes since you killed my son Hector.
My Lord King, you would be well advised to spend the night outside my hut. If some counsellor should come for a midnight conference, as often happens, and were to recognize you, he might inform our High King Agamemnon, who would assuredly make trouble about the ransom.
Oh, yes.
But tell me, how many days will Hector's obsequies last? I undertake not to resume the battle while they are in progress.
An armistice, my lord Achilles, would be most welcome. Mourning will last 9 days. On the 10th we burn the corpse and celebrate a funeral feast. On the 11th we raise his barrow. On the 12th we do battle if you attack us.
Very well. With this clasp of hand and wrist I pledge myself to keep the Greek army in camp until the 12th day. And now, my Lord King, let us turn our thoughts to supper. Eat and gain strength to lament your beloved son as you carry him home to Troy.
Then they shared a succulent meal together, and when they had eaten and drunk enough, Priam and his herald lay down to sleep, but outside the hut. Inside, Achilles, acting on his mother's advice, took lovely Briseis to bed with him. My Lord King, you have now heard the tale of Achilles' ruinous anger and of how it was assuaged. Dare I hope that it has pleased you? Go to bed, dear Muse, take your rest, and good night to you all.
That was the final part of The Anger of Achilles, an epic for radio by Robert Graves, from his translation of Homer's Iliad. Agamemnon was played by Maurice Denham, Achilles by Robert Hardy, Odysseus by John Slater, Nestor by Norman Shelley, Hector by Gabriel Woolf, and Zeus by Francis de Wolfe. Phemius, son of Homer, a bard, was spoken and sung by Dennis Quilly. The music was specially composed by Roberto Gerard, and production for the BBC was by Raymond Rakes.